This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate second part of What If Naruto Awakens Dark Chakra. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Would Naruto Uzumaki and Kiba Inuzuka please come down to the arena? Hayate stated. Kiba bragged, "Woohoo! We won the lottery, Akamaru," as he and Akamaru descended to the arena. Despite his boastful nature, he shared the others' apprehension about Naruto's actions ever since they arrived. Though he wasn't sure what had happened in the forest, he knew it didn't matter right now. This will end quickly, he contemplated. While Naruto didn't alter his expression as he made his way down to the arena, he did not before receiving good luck from Yukino, Ino, Sakura, and, surprisingly, Hinata. "Hey, hurry up dead last, and don't worry, I'll make this quick and easy," Kiba said, earning a glare from Yukino, Ino, and Sakura. Hinata even had a frown on her face at her teammates' actions. He said, "Thank you," and they grinned back at him before stopping to walk. "Oh right," he thought to himself as he turned to face Yukino and lifted Chakra off his head. Naruto, holding Chakra in his arms, said, "Yukino, can you watch over Chakra for me?" "Yes, of course," Yukino replied as Chakra approached her to stand on her shoulder and Naruto descended. "Are you certain you won't need assistance?" Chakra inquired with concern. With determination, Naruto answered, "Don't worry, I'll be fine. Aside from this is my first start to achieve my new goal." Kurenai began conversing with Kakashi. "Sorry Kakashi, but Naruto doesn't stand a chance," she replied. Yukino scowled at this, her thoughts replaying what Naruto had said. Was that what everyone thought? She pondered somberly. Kakashi shot back, "I wouldn't say that, Naruto may surprise you," which caused Yukino to smile a little. Shikamaru, who was standing there when Kurenai spoke, sighed in irritation. He whispered, "They're going to be in for a surprise." "Yes, they are unaware of how powerful Naruto truly is," Choji remarked, swallowing nervously. After hearing what they said, Asuma gave them a questioning glance. Asuma said, "What are you guys talking about? From what you guys told me before, Naruto was the weakest graduate from your class, causing the Team 10 to recoil in response to their sensei's statement. It was true that they had previously believed that, but things had changed." "Well, that's what we initially believed, but something happened to him when we were in the forest with Team 7, Ino said, not revealing her blonde eyes but blushing with shame. Asuma inquired, "What exactly happened to him?" "We're not sure ourselves. Naruto appeared suddenly when Sasuke was about to finish off the last sound ninja that attacked their team," replied Choji. Ino shook her head, recalling what had happened. "I'm glad Naruto showed up because who knows what Sasuke would have done to the last sound ninja if he didn't step in." This caught Asuma and Kakashi off guard. Kakashi looked at Naruto and thought, this has to be the curse mark's doing. It also looks like Naruto stopped Sasuke before he could do anything else, but how? Exactly what did Naruto do? Kakashi inquired. Shikamaru surprised Asuma and Kakashi by saying, "I'm not sure myself, but he had this bizarre power I've never seen or heard of before. Whatever he did, he used it to stop Sasuke." Before anyone could respond, Shikamaru went on. Shikamaru finished, shocking Asuma and Kakashi even more than before. Unbeknownst to them, this attracted the attention of Team Guy and Team 8, who were listening in on their conversation. "That's not all. When we were on our way to the tower, we got ambushed by some ninja from Rain. That was when Naruto used that bizarre power again and completely wiped out all 3 Rain ninja by himself without breaking a sweat." Asuma and Kakashi exchanged glances with one another. Strange ability? Might they be discussing the 9 tails? Kakashi thought, his expression troubled. Kakashi had to make sure, so he asked, "Could you possibly describe this power Naruto displayed?" "Well, it felt dark," Ino remarked, recalling Naruto's influence over her. Though it's not a good sign, Kakashi thought. Anything else? If it was the power of the 9 tails, then everyone should have felt it, but the only power surge was from a few days ago. Sakura stated that his appearance changed this time. "What specifically changed about him?" Asuma inquired. "Well, his hair was black with a few strips of it was red, his eyes were green, and his jumpsuit was black and red along with his headband and sandals," said Shikamaru. Yukino remained silent while listening to their conversation because she wasn't sure if Naruto was interested in discussing it at all. She chose to remain silent as Team Guy and Team 8 expressed their surprise at this revelation. How youthful it is to think that Naruto could stop Sasuke, who had defeated the 3 sound ninjas that I was unable to defeat, Lee thought, his eyes full of stars. As he watched Naruto, Neji thought, Naruto Uzumaki. I made a mistake to underestimate you, but I will not make that mistake again. I see, Kakashi remarked. I'm relieved that this wasn't the Nine Tails power, but what other power might Naruto have? He pondered, then glanced at his other two pupils before turning to face Naruto. Yukino, Sakura, I've been meaning to ask, but what happened with Naruto? His behavior is different than his usual one. I figured you would know since you all have been together since the test began? Replied Kakashi. The question caused Yukino and Sakura to freeze. They had hoped to avoid this, but it appears that fate had other ideas. To make matters worse, the other rookies were listening in, so they nervously exchanged looks and were unsure of what to do next. He asked again, Sakura, Yukino, what's wrong? Could you answer my question? But they remained silent until Yukino spoke. Yukino said, Kakashi-sensei, do you think we can talk about this after the preliminaries are over? I would prefer we talk in private anyway. Kakashi gave it some thought, then sighed and nodded at his two students. Without giving room for debate, Kakashi said, okay, but I expect you give me the full explanation, understand? Yukino and Sakura simply nodded in agreement. The Sand team was having their own conversation across the arena. Kankuro said, hey, doesn't that blonde boy seem different than he was before? Tamari, his sister, nodded. Yeah, you're right. Wonder what happened to him. Guess the Forest of Death opened his eyes to the truth of this world. She replied, she has no idea. Gaara, their brother, and Sensei Baki observed silently. Gaara, however, remained silent and did not say anything, choosing instead to observe the blonde boy. Gaara sensed that he was different from that day on, even though at first he didn't really care about the loudmouth. When the proctor declared whether or not both fighters were ready, everyone's focus was drawn back to him. Kiba grinned and nodded, while Naruto only nodded once. Hey, buddy, stay back. I won't need you for this. Kiba commanded Akamaru to comply. The proctor jumped back to give the fighters more space, and Kiba broke the silence in the arena as the two fighters just stared at each other. Begin. Kiba gave the blonde a cruel smirk and said, you might as well give up, you idiot. You were the dead last in the academy after all. You can't beat me. In fact, I'll just become Hokage in your place. How about that? After that, the entire room was silent as they anticipated Naruto's reply. With a simple smile, Naruto said, you know, Kiba. You can go ahead with that. The only reason why I wanted to be Hokage is so that I can be respected by the people of this village. But now that I'm thinking about it, I was selfish, because it only benefited me and nobody else. But now I have a new dream, one that will benefit everybody, and I'm going to make that dream a reality for them. His eyes sharpened as he continued, you're welcome to take and be the Hokage if you want, you just have to beat me first. But can you do it though? Naruto concluded, daring Kiba while assuming a fighting stance. Kirin within Naruto grinned at his partner's words. Something must be wrong because Naruto's response startled both the Jonin sensei and the other rookies. Yukino was even more shocked by Naruto's statement because, since they were young, that was all he had ever discussed. She didn't understand why people were acting hostilely toward Naruto. Perhaps it was due to their practical jokes, but she thought there was more to it than that. Quit acting tough, you idiot. Your new behavior won't do much here, Kiba barked. Enough talk, let's get this over with, Naruto said, cutting off the conversation and gesturing for someone to come here. Kiba reacted angrily to Naruto's response, running at him with unexpected speed and attempting to elbow him in the stomach. When Naruto saw this, he followed his instincts and chose to elbow him in the back of the head while spinning out of the way. Those who knew Naruto were stunned into silence when Kiba crashed into the earth. Troublesome blondes. Shikamaru received a slap on the back of the head right away. Yukino observed with a hint of worry. Kiba stood back up, wiping the blood from his nose, and Naruto leapt back to avoid a sweeping leg kick. You got lucky with that, Naruto, Kiba yelled at Naruto, who simply stared down at him. As Naruto dodged Kiba's attempt to hit him with a kunai, he charged at him and attempted a punch. With a punch, Naruto pushed him away from himself. Following that, Kiba and Naruto engaged in a taijutsu battle. Kiba sent a right hook towards Naruto, but the latter stepped back. Kiba tried the move several more times, but each time, Naruto either dodged it or redirected it away from his body. Kiba attempted to hit Naruto again, but he parried it. Instead, Naruto struck Kiba with his backhand, causing him to stagger back a little. Hiruzen and the onlookers were taken aback by Naruto's abilities. Kiba had unexpected speed, but Naruto was able to block every blow that Kiba threw at him. Naruto, you've really grown, Hiruzen thought, grinning. Kiba smirked at Naruto after wiping a tiny bit of blood from his mouth. Kiba said, "Okay, I'll stop playing around. Let's go, Akamaru." Akamaru barked in response. He then reached into his pouch and threw multiple pellets at Naruto, who was soon engulfed in smoke. "Excellent, the smoke obscures everything," Shikamaru remarked. After taking a quick glance around, Naruto closed his eyes, concentrated on his senses, and leapt back when he felt a tiny object bite into his shirt and rip it off. When Naruto opened his eyes, his jumpsuit was ripped apart. Great, he thought to himself. Naruto felt two presences approaching from either side, so he quickly snapped back to reality. As Akamaru attempted to bite his arm, he quickly kicked Kiba out of the smoke and reached out to grab him from the air. Kiba slid to a stop, observing two Narutos, one of whom was holding Akamaru and the other to its left. "Give up," Naruto commanded. "There's no way I'm giving up, Akamaru catch." Kiba hurled a pill he had taken out at Akamaru after witnessing Akamaru being taken. "What is that?" murmured Naruto. When Akamaru opened its mouth to swallow the tiny tablet, its fur began to turn red and it began to growl like a ferocious animal. When Akamaru abruptly kicked his clone, causing it to fly away and land next to Kiba, Naruto was taken aback. "You asked for it, Naruto," Kiba exclaimed, gesturing with his hand for Akamaru to become a clone of him. "Wait, hold on. Akamaru took something. What was it?" replied Ino. "It was a food pill. They are special pills that replenish one's stamina and chakra and nourish the body. It's made up of powerful stimulants and nutrients, said to allow the user to keep fighting for 3 days and 3 nights without rest," Choji said. Sakura inquired, "Wait, how is that fair?" Kakashi remarked, "Food pills are just another ninja tool, so it's allowed," as they kept watching the battle. Ninja arts. Beast mimicry all fours jutsu. Kiba and the clone's nails began to sharpen as they began to resemble animals and sprinted faster in Naruto's direction. When the second Kiba attempted to slash at him, Naruto automatically leapt backwards and rolled to the side to avoid one of the attacks. They attempted to slash Naruto for a short while before the original Kiba pulled out more smoke bombs and threw them at him, creating another cloud of smoke. Kiba exclaimed, "Let's go, Akamaru," and Naruto heard a grunt in response. Ninja art. Fang over fang. Naruto leapt vertically to avoid Kiba and his clone, who were spinning so quickly that they turned into drills. Unfortunately, because he was in the air, Naruto was unable to avoid Kiba and his clone, who followed him up and slashed at his body, causing him to grit his teeth in pain. They also tore apart his jumpsuit and the shirt he was wearing underneath it, exposing the 2 seals on his stomach. With smiles on their faces, Kiba and his clone descended from the cloud of smoke. The entire arena fell silent as they anticipated what would happen. "Huh? You really thought you stood a chance against me and Akamaru? You will always be the dead last and nothing else, and this new dream of yours, do you really think you can achieve it like you said? You might as well give that up too," Kiba smirked. "Oh my goodness. If only the smoke would go away, we could determine whether Naruto is alright or not," Yukino exclaimed, and the others concurred. "I hope everything is well," Naruto, Yukino, Ino, and Hinata thought. Kankuro observed the fight and remarked, "I got to feel bad for the kid. I have to admit, he is a lot better than I gave him credit for." Tamari said, "Yeah, but oh well, and it'll be one less obstacle with the plan." Suddenly, though, Gaara said, "It's not over." His siblings turned to face him and saw that their brother was fixated on the smoke that Naruto remained in. Baki turned to face Gaara. "Gaara has never behaved in this manner. What's capturing his interest in that boy down below?" Kiba heard a voice from the cloud of smoke stopping him as he turned to leave. "Oh really?" Everyone in the room noticed as the smoke began to swirl and a sudden surge of power was felt, but the Jonin Sound Ninja in particular paid close attention to what was happening. Kurenai stammered, This power, it's the same as before." "The same as it was back then," Shino remarked. "So, and Naruto was that?" Hinata considered however. "How?" Asuma expressed shock. "Is that why he desired to meet me? Was that Naruto's doing?" Hiruzen inquired, thinking back to the power surge from a few days prior. Ino said, grabbing everyone's attention, "It's happening." Asuma asked, keeping her eyes fixed on the fight, "What's happening?" "This was the power we told you about, you're about to see it for yourself," said Shikamaru. "I see," Kakashi remarked. "It feels like the power surge we experienced a few days ago, and I was thinking it was Naruto, but what caused this to happen?" When the smoke cleared, a large black orb appeared in the center of the arena where Naruto should have been. A small red flash of light then burst from the orb, revealing Naruto with his eyes closed, but half of him was different. His blonde hair was now half black with a few red strips in it, as was half of his jumpsuit, along with his headband and sandals. His jacket was torn to pieces, and the shirt below had several slash marks on it, and his right pant leg had been torn below the shin, while both also had multiple slash marks. Despite this, Naruto didn't seem to mind because the wind was blowing in all directions, forcing everyone to cling. Again, Yukino worried. She didn't want Naruto to experience that condition once more. She was surprised to hear a quiet voice tell her not to worry as she turned to look around. "Who is present? May I ask?" she inquired. "Naruto will be all right," the voice uttered softly once more. "Who are you?" Yukino inquired, but the voice did not answer her. Unbeknownst to her, Chakra glanced at her bewilderedly before turning to face Naruto. In the meantime, across the arena, "What the hell is going on down there?" Temari exclaimed as she struggled to stay attached to the railings and avoid being carried away by the strong winds. Kankuro exclaimed in shock, "It's that power we felt from before. So that was this kid that did it." "Hold on." The Sand Ninja and their Jonin instructor Baki turned to face Gaara, who was giving Naruto a fierce look while his hand was gripping his arm so tightly that the sand armor was breaking. The most terrifying thing for them was the obscene smile he was giving Naruto. Gazing fearfully at his younger brother, Kankuro thought to himself, "Gaara's getting antsy." Temari thought as she turned from Gaara to Naruto, "I've never seen him like this before, aside from when we felt this kid's power back then." Gaara ignored the strong winds surrounding him and kept staring at Naruto. When he was in the forest during the second exam section, his thoughts wandered back. Naruto was radiating the same vibe as he had in the past. That power. His blood will satisfy Mother, Gaara thought to herself. Alongside the audio crew, Kin shook his head and said, Dosu, is this what you were talking about?" "Yes, it's the same as before except last time he was covered head from toe in black and red. He's basically the reason why we were able to pass in the first place," Dosu replied with widened eyes. The sensei of the sound asked, "Dosu, can you explain what this power is?" And Dosu tensed up. "I'm not sure myself, but it was on a totally different level than that when he was fighting Sasuke," replied Dosu. He remarked, I see. It looks like Naruto had a secret power stronger than the curse mark. This will be interesting to watch." Inside the arena, when Naruto opened his eyes, Kiba was trembling and he was staring at her with his right eye turning green. It seems like Naruto was the reason behind that, but how? Given that he was the class clown and the bottom finisher, what happened to make him this way? Kiba pondered. With a serious tone, Naruto declared, "I'm going to finish this right now." Kiba clenched his teeth and cried, "No you won't, there's no way I'm giving up now." "You might not appear to be, but Akamaru certainly is," Naruto remarked, glancing over Kiba. "Akamaru? What's wrong boy?" Kiba asked, turning around to see Akamaru in his regular form hiding behind his legs. Akamaru just whimpered. "Looks like Akamaru is scared as well. Why?" "Yeah, but I'm surprised Shino, you don't seem to be scared, you look calm as ever?" Shino said, "Oh no, I'm terrified. Like, really terrified right now, I just can't show it," which caused the other rookies and their sensei to start perspiring. "Oh, right, then," Hinata uttered as she looked back at the arena. Naruto questioned, "So, what are you going to do?" After giving it some thought, Kiba shook his head. Kiba said, "Akamaru, thanks for helping me but I got this. Go back up to the stands okay?" Akamaru gave his owner a sidelong glance, shook his head, and growled at him. "What? Are you sure?" Kiba inquired, and Akamaru growled once more in response. Kiba made another hand gesture and said, "All right then. Beast mimicry. Man-beast clone." Next, Akamaru transformed into a Kiba clone and leapt onto the original Kiba. "Let's go!" Kiba exclaimed. "You ready Naruto? We're not holding anything back." He and Akamaru then began to spin quickly like drills. Ninja arts. Super Fang over Fang. "That's more like it," Naruto said, channeling dark energy to cause his hands to glow red and black. He then knelt down, bracing himself for what was about to happen. As he stood up and started to spin, a flash of red appeared from his two hands, and he began to move like a tiny red and black tornado, advancing on Kiba and Akamaru. Darkest Lariat. Everyone was taken aback by what Naruto accomplished because they had no idea he was capable of it. "Naruto, could you please explain what transpired?" Hiruzen thought incredulously. "Wow. Naruto did something similar like Kiba," Ino replied. Kurenai exclaimed in shock, "Incredible. This could be the match's ultimate climax," Shikamaru remarked. The match that would determine who advanced to the finals would be decided by the proximity of Naruto, Kiba, and Akamaru. The two became more intimate, nearer. Until they were only a few inches apart. Whack. The two attacks clashed, sending tiny black or red sparks flying as they battled for supremacy. The shockwave caused the wind to blow everywhere, forcing onlookers to cling to the railings for support. "This is really intense," exclaimed Shoji. Shikamaru exclaimed, "No kidding." Whack. A massive explosion occurred in the center of the arena, sending a concussive shockwave that almost destroyed everyone, including Gaara, as they struggled to maintain their balance. The arena was completely covered in dust, making it impossible for anyone to see the two of them. "Naruto!" exclaimed Ino and Yukino. Shoji questioned in shock, What happened?" Shikamaru answered, "I can't see a thing, so I'm not sure." Kurenai said, "Hinata, use your Byakugan to see what happened." She did the same with Neji. They were curious to see what would happen, and what they saw completely shocked them. Not only were Kiba and Akamaru unconscious on the ground, but they were also unable to see Naruto's chakra points. "Naruto remains upright." Everyone's eyes widened as Hinata and Neji both exclaimed at once. As the dust started to settle, everyone could see that Naruto was still conscious and only a short distance from Kiba and Akamaru, who were unconscious. Naruto was breathing heavily from exhaustion, and half of his hair and jumpsuit were still black and red, along with the one green eye he still had. Now that everyone can see him clearly, Hinata was blushing a lot, and Yukino, Ino, and Sakura blushed at the memory of feeling Naruto up, if you can call it that. Every female blushed at the display of muscles on Naruto's forearms and stomach, noticing his six-pack abs, but they were surprised by how well it fit his posture, not being too bulky but toned to fit his body. The males were staring at Naruto in shock at the same time, which made the seals visible to a large number of people, including the Sand Team, Neji, the Third, and Kakashi. The Third was astounded to discover that Naruto was wearing a 5-element seal on top of his standard 8-trigram seal. The seal interfered with both his ability to control his chakra and its intended flow. "It's unbelievable," Shoji muttered, shocked. "How is anyone still standing after all that?" Shikamaru, stunned, muttered, "Naruto is an absolute monster. If I had to fight against Naruto, I'm just quitting then and there." "Naruto," Ino muttered, blushing, but grinning that her fellow blonde was mostly fine. "Naruto, you're just amazing," she said. Sensing that he wouldn't be seriously hurt, Yukino, who was blushing, clasped her hands together in a silent prayer. "How could you still keep standing after that, Naruto? But I am glad you're alright," she thought, grinning. "I'm going to say this, Kakashi, Naruto is really something else," Kurenai remarked, glancing at Akamaru and Kiba. Kakashi remarked, trying to lighten the mood, "Well, they don't call him the unpredictable kunkle-headed ninja for nothing," but he was also rather taken aback by this match. Hayate rushed over to where Kiba and Akamaru had fallen. He was still alive because when he put his hand directly on his neck, he felt a pulse. "He's completely out cold," Hayate thought as she glanced at Naruto, who was breathing a little bit laboredly but otherwise fine. Hayate proclaimed, "The winner of the match, Naruto Uzumaki." Sighing, Naruto closed his eyes and focused on his darkness, feeling his power return to his soul. Viewers were shocked to see that half of Naruto, who had previously been black and red, had returned to his original colors. When Naruto opened his eyes, he noticed that his right eye was the same shade of blue as always. He was startled to see the other rookies staring at him from the catwalk. He noticed Yukino grinning at him. She exclaimed, "Good job, Naruto," and he nodded. He then witnessed Chakra leap from Yukino's grasp onto the stand railings and come towards him. Naruto caught her as she snuggled against his chest. Chakra exclaimed, "Naruto, that was great, thanks, Chakra," he uttered. "You did well, you had good control over your darkness, but there is still more battles to come in the future," Kirin stated. "Exactly," he nodded. Hiruzen gave the Anbu a brief signal that he would be departing, then motioned for the medics to take Naruto into a private room. It wasn't long before the medics removed Naruto, Kiba, and Akamaru, with everyone thinking it was to treat the injuries he sustained in the battle. He heard the others talking about him as he was leaving. As the other rookies silently nodded in agreement, Ino exclaimed, "Wow, Naruto's gotten so strong." Her question caused the Jonin senseis to exchange glances. "But did you see that seal he had on his stomach?" she asked. "Do you know what it does, Yukino, Sakura?" replied she. Yukino responded, "No, I don't, I haven't seen it before." Sakura had a perplexed expression. "No, but when we were attacked by Oro." Kakashi and Yukino interrupted Sakura, gently nudging her side and nodding slightly. Shikamaru, Neji, Shino, and Ino saw this action as well. The others remained silent as the next competitor was soon announced, but Sakura continued, Before we were ambushed there was a big wind jutsu before that and it caused us to separate and it must have hit Naruto in the stomach back then. Naruto could no longer hear what was being said as he was led into a private room, and soon after the third entered through the door. Would Shikamaru, Nara and Kintsuchi please make their way down? As usual, the third voice was soft and serene. Hello, Naruto. How are you? A tiny smile appeared on Naruto's face, one that the third had not seen since the blonde was a young child. Naruto paused before addressing the elderly Hokage, saying, Hey old man. Honestly, I could be better. For a split second, the third was reminded of another blonde man. I'm assuming you already know what had happened to Team 7. The third paused for a second before answering, Yes, we got the information. We also know he placed a cursed seal on young Sasuke. I didn't know he had sealed you too. The third scowled at this statement. Why didn't you inform Iruka or Kakashi about it? The elderly Hokage scowled before nodding in response to Naruto's statement. I wanted us to have a private conversation about it, and I didn't see Kakashi-sensei until we were all in the big room. It's amazing you made it this far with the seal on, but there's nothing we can do about it right now. I can remove the seal from you right now. The third person soon lit a blue fire with his left hand as he touched Naruto's stomach. 5 elemental seal release caused an instantaneous effect on Naruto, who sighed. Man, I'm grateful, he grinned. You're welcome Naruto, so what did you want to talk about? Hiruzen was surprised by Naruto's words, yeah about that, as he hadn't expected him to be able to sense the Anbu in the room when they were hidden. Naruto began, whispering in Hiruzen's ear, it involves what I did in my match with Kiba. This is a private matter, it's not to be said while other people are around. After gathering his thoughts, Hiruzen nodded to Naruto. Okay, would you like to talk when this is over? Hiruzen asked, and Naruto nodded. Naruto remarked, that would be nice, because this matter is serious, and Hiruzen gave a nod. The third said, pointing to the area in the room where extra supplies were piled, okay, there are spare shirts over in the corner. At that point, he left the room. The third person in the room said, you can go back and rejoin the others when you're ready, and walked out. Once more sighing, Naruto leaned back in bed alongside Chakra. Naruto asked, do you two think I should tell him? Kirin questioned, well, do you trust him enough to tell him about me? Naruto considered the question for a moment before nodding. He answered, feeling Kirin nod. Yeah, he was basically the one who cared about me aside from Yukino. I think you should Naruto, since you seem to trust him, and he seems to be the kind of guy who won't go around telling anyone about it, Chakra replied with a nod. Okay, Naruto said as he heard scratching coming from the door. He got to his feet, went to the door, and opened it to see what was there. It's you? Naruto asked as he saw the black cat with green eyes that had emerged from his darkness. The cat gave him a nod before entering the space. The cat leapt on the bed and gazed at Naruto as he walked back to the bed and sat down on it. Naruto asked, so what did you find out? As the cat's green eyes began to glow, illuminating Naruto's own eyes as he prepared to learn what had transpired prior to the preliminary examination. In the meantime, Naruto's mind contained a large cage labeled, seal, and a sewer. Like space, and there was a loud rumbling sound coming from inside. Red's eyes flashed as he realized the infernal seal had vanished from the massive figure that had raised its enormous head and opened its eyes. The figure thought, seems the brat got the seal removed, but something's different for some reason, but he dismissed it and was ready to return to sleep when. Step. When the figure opened its eyes, it was unable to see the source of the noise. Step. This did not frighten the figure, who kept scanning the sewer area to determine the source of the sound. Who is present? The figure asked. The figure turned to look around once more when he noticed a figure standing there, staring at the doorway. The figure said, nice to meet, Nine Tails, and stepped forward to reveal that he was Kirin. The Nine Tails asked, who are you? As he stood tall and waved his tails in the cage's background in an attempt to intimidate Kirin, but Kirin just stared at the beast. I have something to discuss with you. Where am I? As he was encircled by nothing but black, Naruto thought. Naruto covered his eyes as a flash of red appeared. When he opened them, he discovered that the black cat was with him. Naruto knelt down to greet the cat, which only gave him a sidelong glance. Hey, little one, could you tell me what you discovered? The cat nodded and began to move in the direction that Naruto had asked. Naruto used this time to think back on his past experiences and make plans for the future. The POV of Naruto. Though I was told I could pass the academy if I stole the scroll of sealing for Mizuki-sensei, I was tricked into doing so. Later, I was informed that I am the host of the Nine-Tailed Fox, but I was still able to learn the Shadow Clone Jutsu technique from the scroll as I strolled with the Black Cat. After passing the academy, I was only placed on a team with Yukino, a girl I had a crush on in my childhood, but she was with Sasuke Uchiha, who was also placed on the same team as Sakura Haruno. After that, we met Kakashi Hitaki, our sensei, who was cool but frequently arrived late for team meetings. Thanks to me, we were able to obtain a C-rank mission to the wave after numerous D-rank missions. We had to escort Tazuna, a master bridge builder from the Land of Waves. We came across Zabuza, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, halfway through the mission. With Sasuke's help, we were able to free Kakashi-sensei from the water prison he was in, escape, and reach Tazuna's home. After meeting Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter, and Inari, Tsunami's son, we discovered that Zabuza was still alive, despite our initial belief that the Hunter Nin had killed him with low-kill Senbon needles. Then, Kakashi-sensei showed us how to climb a tree with our feet, telling us that this is an exercise to improve our chakra control. When we arrived at Tazuna's bridge, we saw some of his employees on the ground, which is when Zabuza appeared with the Hunter Nin from earlier, and they engaged in combat. In the end, the Hunter Nin was Haku, who I had met in the forest while I was exhausted, and he was ultimately killed by Kakashi-sensei's jutsu that was meant to be for Zabuza. After that, Zabuza was betrayed by Gato, who had hired him and Haku to kill Tazuna. Zabuza killed Gato for mocking Haku, but his followers killed him in the process. Tazuna then completed the bridge and gave it the name the Great Naruto Bridge. Once we returned to the village, Kakashi-sensei registered us for the Chunin exams. Following the written exam, I encountered the Forest of Death, where my team abandoned me. Despite this, I was able to awaken a mysterious power and meet Kirin, who informed me about the legend of the Queen of Light and the Prince of Darkness and their mutual promise. Kirin also discussed the physical changes I underwent during my awakening and some of the training I will undertake once the second part of the exams is finished. It's unbelievable how much my life has changed in just one dia. I have a lot more responsibility now. Kirin also mentioned that she would eventually meet Iris and her partner, and that day was drawing near. She even introduced herself to me at that point. Unfortunately, I was unable to get her name, which would have been helpful to know ahead of time when we next met. The sound of the black cat meowing startled me out of my reverie. Third POV trying to get his attention, the black cat startled Naruto out of his reverie. Naruto mused, Are we there yet? The cat gave a nod and turned to face Naruto, who then turned to see a door. In there? He inquired, and the feline jumped on his shoulder and nodded. Naruto said, Well, all right then, as he moved to open the door, which briefly blinded him with a burst of light. Scene alteration. When Naruto opened his eyes, he found himself in a familiar room, the same one he and his team had entered through the building's doors. What startled him was that the man he had seen earlier, the same one who had ambushed him and his team in the foresta, was simply leaning against the wall, waiting for something. You! Naruto exclaimed as he assumed a fighting stance, but the cat leapt off his shoulders and moved in front of him, giving a dismissive shake of its head. Naruto became confused by this but then realized where he was. Oh right, this is just a memory, Naruto remarked, becoming more at ease as the black cat leapt back onto his shoulder and took a seat. Clack. When Naruto heard the door open, he turned to see Kabuto and his group entering the space. As soon as Kabuto opened the door, his once charming and joyful expression changed to one of sinister intent as he turned to face the person who had attacked Team 7 back in the forest. A good harvest? Inquired the man. Kabuto held up a ninja info card and said, Yes, more than I expected. I learned a lot about him during the second part of the exam, and I've got all the data on this. You want it? The man accepted the card and said, Of course. So tell me, what do you think? Your curiosity is truly insatiable, Lord Orochimaru, said Kabuto. So that's his name, but why does Kabuto know who he is? Replied Naruto. As a Sound Village spy, you see things others don't. Your opinions is of interest to me, Orochimaru replied. Kabuto was a spy all along, so that's why he was able to get information on the other participants, but why would he want that? Is it for certain people he wanted information on? No, I don't think that's it. That Orochimaru guy put something on Sasuke's neck before I was unconscious. Then there was the sound team as they ambushed my squad. That's not a coincidence, since it seems Kabuto and his team along with Orochimaru are from the Sound Village. They must have told them to target Sasuke, specifically him. Maybe because of the mark. I need more information about this. Also I need to tell the old man about this. He needs to know, Naruto stated. Attracting Naruto's attention, Kabuto said, I know that you will always make the decision either way, but I really think you should hear what I have to say. With curiosity, Orochimaru eyed his top spy, figuring that if he was reporting something in person instead of on a card, it had to be something serious. Oh, well then, do tell. Orochimaru's eyes widened as Kabuto remarked, it seems Naruto possessed a unique power that was more powerful than the curse mark. Well, that is intriguing. You sure that it wasn't the Nine Tails power? Orochimaru inquired. Kabuto surprised Orochimaru even more by saying, I'm certain it wasn't the Nine Tails, besides I'm sure you felt that burst of power from a few days ago. I'm certain Naruto was the cause of that. He was also pretty sure that everyone in the elemental nations felt that kind of power, but to think Naruto was the cause of it. I am going to have to see this for myself then. If what you're saying is true, then Naruto will be an obstacle for the invasion, Orochimaru replied. As you wish, Lord Orochimaru. Oh no. Naruto had to shield his eyes when a sudden burst of light filled the center of the room, turning everything white. Scene alteration. When Naruto opened his eyes and realized he was back in the private room, he abruptly stood up and sighed. Naruto, are you okay? Chakra asked, and Naruto gave her a glance. Yes, I'm okay, he remarked as he sat back down. Chakra inquired, what did you see? After giving it some thought, Naruto said, I believe there will be an invasion coming to the leaf soon. This startled Chakra. Really? Naruto asked as he nodded and rubbed his forehead, not sure what to do. She questioned, what are we going to do? But Naruto shook his head. I'm not sure just yet, all I know is that I have to tell the old man about this and that I messed up by revealing my dark powers to everyone. Damn, said Naruto. What do you mean? Naruto further shocked Chakra by saying, the guy from before, the one that attacked my team, is named Orochimaru, and thanks to Kabuto, who was a spy for him, now knows about my dark powers. What are you going to do? Naruto stood up with Chakra and walked toward the black cat, who was silent, saying, I can't do anything about it now, besides I need more information about this invasion they talked about. I still need training in order to prepare for it. The cat nodded at Naruto, who said, you did good getting this information, good job. He lifted his arm as dark energy surrounded it, and the cat vanished in black smoke. Naruto said, okay, I think it's time to get back to the others now. Chakra nodded. Before leaving, Naruto examined his jumpsuit to make sure it was still torn. He then proceeded to the cabinet where the third showed him the additional shirts. After taking off his shirt and jacket and putting on an accessible black t-shirt, he left the room. I wonder who's fighting right now, he wondered. Scene alteration. When Naruto arrived at the main area, he saw that Hinata was crying and that she and Neji were on the arena floor. As he walked upstairs, Naruto thought to himself, this doesn't look good. Naruto moved upstairs while continuing to watch the battle below. There was a strange vibe in the room, and the tension was oppressive. Hinata just stood there, more tears streaming down her face. Give up, Hinata, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try. You can't defy fate. My eyes see everything and you are simply too weak to fight me. Naruto asked as he stood beside his squad and Team 10, what's happening? Hinata and Neji are facing each other, but it looks like they have bad blood with each other, more so with Neji than Hinata, Ino said, glancing at Naruto as he returned. Naruto nodded. Yukino was relieved to see Naruto back and that he was alright. I'm glad you're okay, Naruto. You missed Shikamaru's fight with the Sound Kunoichi, said Yukino. Really, good job, Shikamaru, although you probably did something lazy to win, right? Naruto replied. He sighed and said, gimme a break, this whole thing was a drag. As Naruto grinned slightly, Ino rolled her eyes and remarked, everything for you is a drag. Next, he glanced at Yukino. She shook her head when he asked, did your fight come up? Naruto nodded and returned his attention to the battle after she said, no, my turn hasn't come yet. Hopefully it's soon though. Hinata inhaled deeply as she raised her Byakugan and assumed her stance. Neji, looking angry, ran at Hinata and said, I won't give up without at least trying. The two got into a brawl that resembled a dance more than anything else. Look at how they move, it's incredible, said Ino. Yes. That is the Hyuga-style taijutsu, it's one of the most dangerous taijutsu styles in the world. They can injure you with a single touch of a finger. The style relies on shutting down the chakra system in the body by closing tenketsu points one can only see with their bloodline. Guy told every genin in the area about Ino's comment. Thus, Naruto reasoned, it's only effective in close quarters. They are equally matched, Sakura remarked, glancing at the two fighters as they exchanged finger and palm strikes while they stood motionless. Every blow was retaliated with a counterstrike by the other person. Naruto and Yukino both squinted as they stared at Neji and Hinata. No, Sakura and Ino said simultaneously as they turned to face each other. Yukino explained, Neji has the upper hand, he's managed to land several blows to her arm. Everyone turned back to the fight just in time to witness Hinata hit Neji in the shoulder, only to reveal a horrified expression. Neji grabbed Hinata's arm and rolled up her beige jacket to reveal her arm covered in red dots from where he had struck her, saying, I see you finally noticed. Neji took advantage of her distraction and struck her multiple times throughout her body before striking her in the chest, which propelled her across the room. As I told you, it was your fate to lose. Hinata got back up on her wobbly legs. Neji asked the battered Kunoichi, why did you stand back up? Hinata cleared her throat and said, I can't just give up, I know how much you hurt because of the clan elders, just like I do. Neji rushed Hinata, causing everyone to watch with wide eyes. Neji looked absolutely furious. Naruto and Chakra left the stands before anyone could react. As Neji was ready to strike Hinata, Naruto moved in front of her and deflected the blow for her. When Hinata, Yukino, and Ino saw this, their eyes widened horribly. Naruto. Everyone was stunned by what had just occurred, and when Neji looked at Naruto, his eyes widened. Why did you interfere? This doesn't involve you, Neji responded. Looking up, Naruto said, seriously? You were gonna kill Hinata, weren't you? You really expect me to sit idly by and let that happen? He was looking into Neji's blue pale, shaped eyes. Naruto moved faster than any of the other rookies could have predicted, leaving them looking stunned. As Hayate moved between Naruto and Neji, he exclaimed, that's enough. The match is over, the winner is Neji Hyuga. Naruto turned to face Hinata, who was unconscious on the ground, and approached her. When the medical ninja approached Hinata's unconscious body, Chakra leapt off of Naruto's shoulder and headed in that direction. When Chakra was atop Hinata, her body began to glow white, shocking the onlookers. What are you doing, Chakra? Naruto inquired. I'm healing her, she responded, glowing even more. After a little while, the light faded and Chakra detached herself from Hinata, beginning to open her eyes. Naruto asked, Hinata, are you okay? And she gave him a blush. Yes, I'm okay. What happened? She inquired. You went unconscious during your fight with Neji, replied he. After giving it some thought, Hinata remembered what had transpired and cast a worried glance at Naruto. She questioned, What about you, are you okay? Naruto nodded. He said, don't worry, I'm fine, as the paramedics arrived and removed Hinata. I'm glad I channeled my dark energy into my chest to make armor, it would have been really bad if I didn't, Naruto said, letting out a sigh and feeling the hard spot in his chest. He then turned to face Neji, who was moving toward the others. Naruto stopped Neji and said, if you truly believe that our fate was decided when we were born, then you're an idiot. Neji scowled and remarked, a few words from you won't change anything, she will always be weak. Naruto said in an even tone, our fates are in our own hands, Neji, and Hinata has more strength than you could ever imagine. He hadn't planned to speak, but Neji's discussion of fate had really gotten under his skin. Every time he glanced at Hinata, he saw behind her reserved demeanor the same expression that Haku had. He saw in himself a look that said they would give anything for their loved ones. Glancing down at the blood on the ground, Naruto made a fist out of his fingertips and pointed it at Neji. When we face each other in the finals, be prepared to lose, I'll show you that our fates aren't set in stone, said Naruto. The remaining competitors observed the conversation with curiosity. Neji said, we'll see then, won't we? As she carried on walking. As Neji and Naruto ascended the stairs to join the others, Chakra leapt up on his shoulder once more. Once more, Naruto headed for his squad and Team 10. As he approached, Ino exclaimed, Naruto, are you alright? Yes, I'm okay, Naruto replied. Naruto, that was reckless. You could have easily been hurt or worse, Yukino pointed at him. Hinata would have been killed if I hadn't, Naruto declared. Yeah, but still, Yukino scowled. Supporting Yukino, Kakashi remarked, she's right, Naruto, you could have gotten yourself into the hospital or disqualified with that stunt you pulled. Naruto said, it's okay, I channeled chakra into my chest area to lessen the power of his attack, and I'll be more careful going forward. Fortunately, the proctor interrupted to call the next match, so the conversation didn't drag on too long. Hayate uttered, Yukino Kira and Dosu Kinuda, please come down to the arena. Now it's your turn. Good luck, Naruto uttered. Thank you, Yukino smiled and nodded. With Dosu already down and the proctor waiting for her, Yukino made her way down with good fortune bestowed upon her by the other novices. Hayate asked, are you two ready? And they both nodded. Hayate said, okay, begin, and cleared a path for the two. Dosu hurried over to Yukino right away, thinking, I have to end this quick. Yukino yelled and gestured with her hands. Ice style. Icicle spear. Yukino produced a medium-sized ice cream cone and threw it at Dosu. Dosu quickly closed the distance between them and used his metal device to block the jutsu. That guy wants to end this quick, huh, Ino replied. It appears so, Shikamaru remarked. Choji remarked, I'm relieved I'm not going against him. But it won't be that simple, Naruto remarked. When Dosu threw a punch in front of Yukino, she managed to avoid it but then remembered what had happened with Lee in the forest and cursed herself. Ah! She let out, clutching her ear in agony. Huh? Did you already forget what I did to that guy in green in the forest? Replied Dosu. She thought, damn, how could I forget? Ino questioned, wait, what happened? When Lee heard the question, he responded, it's his gauntlet, he is able to make a silent sound wave that attacks the human ear. I see, Naruto mused as he kept watching the battle. What would you do now? Yukino thought, that gauntlet is a problem. Okay, how about this? Dosu either blocked or sidestepped Yukino's attempts at using ice jutsu with his gauntlet. Sakura remarked, I don't get it, what's she up to? This isn't her style of fighting, but nobody was paying attention to anything but the fight. Neji remarked, her fighting style is sloppy. TCH. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Kakashi focused their gaze on the two fighters, concentrating on Dosu's gauntlet in particular. Naruto muttered, so that's what she was doing, but Ino and Sakura heard him. Asking, what do you mean? Sakura, he said, keeping his eyes fixed on the fight, just look. Is that all you got? So what happened in the forest was just a fluke, replied Dosu. Despite her panting, Yukino got to her feet and gestured with her hands once more. Ice style. Icy wind. When she held her hands out, a powerful gust of icy wind appeared, causing everyone to cover themselves in the freezing wind. Dosu raised his gauntlet, but he was unaware that it was turning into ice. Yukino saw this as her opportunity to finally strike. When Yukino suddenly rushed at Dosu with a kunai, he was taken aback and raised his gauntlet again. Dosu and the others were startled when Yukino struck the gauntlet with her kunai, shattering it. Whoa! Shikamaru remarked, so that's why she used all those ice attacks. Naruto nodded as Ino stated, it was to freeze his gauntlet so she can destroy it. That was shrewd, Kakashi thought. Dosu questioned incredulously, what did you do? You didn't notice the effects it had on that gauntlet of yours because you were so focused on my attacks. Yukino shot back, racing toward Dosu. She moved in front of him, kicked him in the air, and gestured with one hand. Ice style. Ice clone. 5 clones of Yukino materialized in ice and leapt in Dosu's direction. A single clone propelled him upwards. He was kicked down by one, then back up by another. Dosu was punched in the gut by Yukino after she threw one of her clones at him. Yukino threw her clone at Dosu, who kicked him down, and the real Yukino made some hand gestures and clenched her fist as she and her clone channeled chakra through their bodies and leapt up, above Dosu. Ice style. Freezing fist. When Yukino struck Dosu in the back, she caused him to fall to the ground, leaving a crater as dust covered the arena. Her fist began to glow with ice energy. Boom. Everyone was astounded by the demonstration of skill, and Kakashi and Hiruzen, well, Hiruzen smiled proudly while watching, but Kakashi was wearing a face mask, so he just closed his eyes. After the dust settled, they noticed that Dosu had been knocked out. Hayate went to see how he was doing and, upon confirming that he was unconscious, he spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. The winner of the match is Yukino Kira. Wearing a smile, Yukino walked back to the others. Yukino, that was awesome, exclaimed Ino. You performed admirably, Kakashi remarked with a smile. I'm grateful, Yukino said, turning to face Naruto. He complimented him on a job well done. She nodded and smiled, then clutched her ear in agony. Yukino, what's wrong? Exclaimed Sakura. She said dismissively, it's my ear, it still hurts from his sound attack, but I'm fine. But then she felt a hand on her cheek and flushed when she realized Naruto was the one who had touched her. Naruto W. What are you? "Remain motionless," Naruto commanded, and she complied. Yukino felt her body heat up and tremble as Naruto channeled his dark energy into her body and into her ear. She didn't know what Naruto was doing, but whatever it was, she felt her ear begin to heal. It was reckless of him to do this because if he messed up, then who knows what might happen to her. Nevertheless, he was confident because he was only healing her. Naruto asked, "There, is it better now?" And she nodded, blushing even more. She said, "Thank you," and he gave a nod. Choji remarked, "Man, I wonder when my match will start." Asuma told his team, "I'm pretty sure it will be soon. Besides, if you win, I'll treat you all to a buffet." This infuriated Choji. With fire in his eyes, Choji exclaimed, "Oh yeah, I'm going to beat whoever I'm up against so I can eat." His teammates and sensei were appalled by his actions. Hayate shocked the others by saying, "Okay, this will be the final match for the preliminary round. Would Rock Lee and Gaara come down to the arena?" When his teammate was called, Lee, who had been silent until then, let out a loud cheer. Lee flipped over the railing, yelling, "Yes, I'll finally show everyone my flames of youth." Gaara materialized in a sand body flicker. Choji said, "Wait, I'm not going to fight," and the others seemed to be thinking the same thing. "Due to the number of people it is uneven, so you win by default," Hayate said, glancing at him. "Oh. Yeah, free FOOD," Choji exclaimed, and Asuma's mouth was open and his eyes were as big as saucers. Shikamaru sighed and said, "Well, you better keep your end of the deal, sensei." But he didn't win. He's the one by default, technically, Ino remarked. "But that's a sad way to win," Naruto thought. Kakashi touched Asuma on the shoulder. "I am sorry for your wallet's lost." Guy interrupted Asuma before he could say anything by talking loudly to his student. Guy shouted louder than Lee, "Go Lee! Show everyone the fruits of your hard work." With unwavering determination shining in his eyes, Gaara watched his opponent stand at the ready without showing any emotion. "If both fighters are ready, begin!" Gaara exclaimed, maintaining his composure as his opponent charged at him and attempted a punch, only for the gourd on his back to erupt and block the green clad genin with sand. Lee did a quick backflip and a circle around him before attempting to land another spin kick while leaping into the air. Leaf Hurricane. The sand automatically rose to shield Gaara, preventing Lee from kicking the ball, and he was pushed back. Lee kept trying various angles, but the sand was stopping him at every turn, so nothing was working. When Gaara raised her head during the match for the first time, sand shot up and struck Lee hard. The sand pushed the green clad ninja away from Gaara and toward the wall, where he crossed his arms. Lee rushed Gaara once more and rapidly regained his footing. He attempted a number of different combination moves, but they were all ineffective. Guy replied to Sakura, "Why doesn't Lee try some ninjutsu or genjutsu?" Sakura appeared as bewildered as everyone else. "That's because he can't. Lee can only use taijutsu." "How is that possible?" Ino questioned, looking shocked. Sakura was about to question Guy again when the man shouted, "You see, Lee was born with chakra coils too small to properly channel chakra for anything other than taijutsu. Lee is not talented at all, but it was through his pure work ethic that he has reached this level. Lee's dream is to become a great ninja despite his inability to use gen or ninjutsu." Guy flashed his teeth and gave Lee a thumbs up, saying, "Take them off, Lee. You have my permission." With a million-watt smile on his face, Lee leapt from the floor to the top of the statue, dodging sand. "Are you sure, Guy? Sensei?" "Yes. Go. It's time to show your blazing flames of youth." Lee lifted up his leg warmers to reveal ankle weights and exclaimed, "Of course, Guy." "Sensei." Lee took the weights off their straps and placed them by his sides. Naruto heard the sand kunoichi say to her makeup, "Wearing teammate, please," as if some measly weights will do anything against Gaara, who gave a nod in agreement. He was reminded to focus on his own team sensei. Guy said nothing in response to Kakashi's question, focusing only on his pupil below. "A bit antiquated, don't you think, Guy?" Lee released the weights, and when they struck the earth, they created enormous impact craters. Shouts of disbelief erupted all around. As Naruto watched Lee fade away, his own eyes grew wide with amazement. "He's so fast, I can barely see him moving down there," Naruto exclaimed. He contemplated. After that, he noticed the weights in the crater that Lee had left behind and thought, that might be good for training. He kept watching the fight, but this time he channeled chakra into his eyes, not realizing that his eyes had changed again. Lee popped up next to Gaara, ready to punch him in the face. The sand responded promptly, but Gaara didn't appear to notice Lee at all. Then Lee turned around and kicked Gaara in the middle, and this time the sand barely missed. Lee took a step back, leapt, and kicked twice with an axe. Gaara's sand stopped the first kick, but the force of the second one caused Gaara's head to snap down. Without squandering the chance, Lee got up and punched Gaara in the face, sending him flying. "He hit Gaara!" exclaimed the blonde member of the sand team, shocking Naruto. Naruto also saw that her teammate appeared equally shocked. Guy's enthusiastic cheers during the preliminary round were undoubtedly the loudest anyone had heard. "Go Lee!" Gaara got back up, his face covered in cracks from where Lee had struck. A portion of his face descended to the earth, revealing that he was donning sand armor. Gaara's desire to kill increased dramatically, and his face twisted into an utterly savage grin. Raising his hands, Gaara exclaimed, "Yes, you are worthy. By killing you I shall prove my existence." The sand began to move more quickly than it had ever moved. Lee leapt backward to escape the sand, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. What an annoying opponent, Lee thought to himself as he kept dodging. Then, he blurted forward and punched through Gaara's automatic defense once more. Lee then lowered himself to the ground and gave Gaara a powerful kick, which caused Gaara to soar upward. Naruto saw Lee wince as he followed Gaara and kept kicking him, pushing him higher and higher. When he closed his eyes, he saw that Gaara had used the opportunity to replace himself with a sand clone. That is not good, thought Naruto gloomily. Lee began to spin the clone as they began to fall head first, wrapping his bandages around them as he reached his peak. Primary Lotus. The sand lone cratered the ground as Lee leapt away just before they hit it. Sakura exclaimed, "Yes, he got him," as Guy and the majority of the genin rejoiced. Yukino exclaimed, "That's incredible," in shock. "No, he didn't," Sakura said, staring at Naruto with astonishment as the other novices gave him the same look. "What do you mean? Yes he did," Sakura exclaimed once more, and Guy looked more closely at the fighters as his expression darkened. Naruto's right, Sakura. Gaara substituted himself when Lee closed his eyes because of the pain. "I'm surprised you caught that, Naruto," Kakashi responded. "It's not that impressive. I just channeled chakra into my eyes to improve my vision," Naruto said, turning to face his sensei, who widened his eyes in surprise. After giving Kakashi a quick glance, Yukino and Ino turned to face Naruto. Both of them became very excited. Confused, Naruto asked, "What's wrong?" "You have eyes," Yukino said. "What about them?" "This is it," Ino said, pulling a mirror from her bag and handing it to Naruto, who just looked at her. "Really, I forgot I brought it here." "Okay," Ino exclaimed, flushed. Naruto reached for the mirror and gave himself a startled look. His two eyes, which were originally blue, have been transformed into yellow eyes with black lines forming the outline of a web with 5 orbs inside. Red, blue, green, yellow, and brown were their colors. What's this?" he thought, startled. Yukino questioned, "Naruto? What is that?" Naruto shook his head. Naruto said, still staring at himself, "I'm not sure myself. I just channeled chakra into my eyes, that's all." After closing his eyes and ceasing to channel chakra into them, Naruto opened them to face his sensei. "Is it gone?" he inquired, and Kakashi nodded, unsure of what to think of his pupil at this point. Shaking his head, Naruto returned his focus to the battle while focusing on his eyes to improve his vision by channeling chakra. "Naruto, what happened to you?" Kakashi thought. As he watched his Gaara crumble into sand, Lee appeared exhausted and had a somber realization on his face. Suddenly, Gaara's sand was hurling him around. He did his best to withstand the punishment, but he was hardly able to block. Lee endured 5 agonizing minutes of being hit repeatedly before he began to dodge once more. Naruto overheard Kakashi talking to Guy in an anxious manner. He turned to face the Jonin and saw that Guy had a determined expression on his face. "Guy, you didn't." "I did." Kakashi asked, "How many gates can he open, Guy?" Kakashi's eye widened and said, "Lee can open 5 gates." "What are they discussing?" Naruto pondered. "Gate of life. Open." Lee's skin turned pink, his hair began to rise, and his body exploded with chakra. "Gate of pain. Open." Gaara was unable to keep up with Lee's rapid pace, which sent him flying high into the air as he continued to bat him around the room. "I barely see him," Naruto thought to himself. When Ino exclaimed, "This is crazy. I can't even see them move," her fellow rookies, unable to keep up with the action, stared at her in disbelief. Lee gave Gaara a powerful kick to the air and bandaged his waist. Lee screams once more as he strikes him. Gate of limit. Open. Gaara was drawn up to Lee, who had his hand cocked back, as Lee jerked his hand up. This is it, Hidden Lotus. Gaara was struck by Lee with such force that it created a massive shockwave, and her body struck the ground with such force that it left a massive crater and a cloud of dust on the floor below. Guy yelled as he saw his student fall to the ground, his body seemingly unharmed by the blow. Gaara, who was severely hurt, raised his hand as the smoke around him cleared and the sand moved with him. Sakura was not the only one in a state of shock, exclaiming, "No way! How is he still up after that?" Kakashi spoke up, and Naruto's eyes narrowed at the sight of Gaara. Nobody spoke again after that. Gaara shifted the gourd on his back into sand before he hit the ground. I hardly noticed it at the time. Naruto's powerful thought from Gaara. Gaara's sand wrapped around his right arm and leg, and he watched his opponent stand unsteadily on his feet. Lee's appendages exploded in a shower of blood, and Gaara clenched his fist, saying, "Mother wants your blood." Lee fell to the ground unconscious. Gaara threw another wave of sand at Lee just as the proctor was ready to announce Gaara the winner. When Naruto raised his arm and his eyes turned green, a black portal opened in front of Lee, revealing the Sword of Darkness, which began spinning quickly to keep the sand away and shield Lee. Neji, Yukino, Sakura, Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji widened their eyes and turned to face Naruto. "What is this?" Gaara exclaimed, glaring at Naruto, who returned the glance. Guy batted the sand away quickly. Is Hayate noticing that a Jonin and a sword are interfering? Called Gaara's match with speed. Guy turned to face the insane looking sand ninja and exclaimed, "Why did you save him? He lost, he no longer has any worth." Guy turned to take Lee to the infirmary, but as he turned to see him standing up, he said, "I saved him because he's my precious student." Guy stopped and began crying as soon as he realized Lee was unconscious. "Lee, it's okay." Before the paramedics could take him away to tend to his wounds, he quickly got him to lie down. The Sword of Darkness passed through another portal that Naruto created covertly, disappearing before anyone could notice. Sakura remarked, "Poor Lee. I hope he gets better," Yukino uttered. Guy gave a thumbs up and said, "Don't worry, Lee is tough, he'll recover in no time." Naruto glanced at Gaara, who returned the favor by glaring at him. The proctor asked the genins to line up in front of him, saying, "Would each match winner please make their way down?" The third moved to address the genin, and Hayate retreated. "Congratulations for making it to the finals. As you know, there are 3 parts to the Chunin exams and the finals will be a series of one-on-one fights tournament style." This prompted Temari to speak up. "Are you saying only one person gets to be promoted? No, you could win every fight and not be promoted at the same time. You could lose in the first match and be promoted. There will be a panel of judges that will be evaluating you during the matches. The farther you make it, the better chance you have of impressing the judges and getting promoted." The third stopped to think about it. The third indicated a box and said, "You will now draw lots to determine who fights who." One by one, they pulled lots until everyone had one. "Please show me your numbers." Naruto checked his number and saw that he had 6. He turned to face the others. Neji had 7, Gaara 5, Shino 2, Kankuro 4, Shikamaru 3, Dosu 1, and Temari 8. This meant that Choji had number 10 and Sasuke would have number 9 because he had never returned after leaving with Kakashi. Naruto thought, "Looks like Sensei already left," when he noticed Kakashi had left the room. The matches will be Naruto vs Neji, Shikamaru vs Temari, Kankuro vs Shino, Choji vs Yukino, and Sasuke vs Gaara. The participants stared at each other and at the person they were fighting, excluding Gaara. Naruto looked at Neji. "You have a month to train, so don't waste this chance." The third departed, and shortly after, the Anbu led them all out of the forest. After 2 hours, everyone had left and was heading in separate directions, with Ino running in the direction of Yukino and Naruto, who had already left. "Hi, Yukino, Naruto. Don't you both remember that you two promised to tell me what happened?" Yukino and Naruto muttered to themselves, wanting to go home and relax. "Ino, can we tell you tomorrow? 'Cause it's been a long day and we're tired," Yukino replied. "But you two said you would tell me," Ino scowled. Surprising Yukino, Naruto remarked, "She's right." "Naruto? We did say that we would tell her later in the tower, but we didn't get around to it?" "Yes, you're correct. It's our duty to tell her the truth now that we both have to." Ino nodded in agreement with Naruto. "Would you please tell her for me?" Naruto asked Yukino before turning to leave. Then, in a sign of defeat, Yukino turned to face Ino. Naruto had literally thrown her under the bus to tell Ino what had happened, but it's the least she can do for him. As she turned to leave, saying, "Okay, Ino, let's go," Ino opened her eyes to see that Yukino and herself were the only ones present. "Where is Naruto right now?" she inquired. "I am going to tell you what happened. I'm sure one of you will," Ino remarked as they began to stroll alongside Yukino. Scene alteration. When Naruto arrived at his apartment, he was ready to go to bed because he had been so tired all day. He just wanted to sleep and be done with today. When Naruto saw how messy his apartment was, he created some clones to clean it up for him. "Is it finished?" As Kirin was about to go to sleep in Naruto's bed with Chakra already asleep, he said to himself. Naruto, struggling to stay awake, said, "Yeah, it's been a long day." "Where have you been all along?" Naruto inquired. "I was talking with the Nine Tails," said he. Naruto took a serious turn. How did things work out? Kirin surprised Naruto by saying, "It surprisingly went well. He agreed to help train you." "Actually, how did you proceed?" "Well. Retrospective. Take it you fox. Smack, will you teach my partner or not?" Smack. "OOOWWWW. Alright. Just stop. I'll help train him." End of flashback. That's not important right now. Please disregard that, lol. Naruto sighed as Kirin remarked, "More importantly, you should rest now because we're going to start training tomorrow." Naruto said, "Alright, good night then," and turned to sleep. Kirin wished Naruto a good night, skipping time. With Kirin's assistance, Naruto awoke early and proceeded to the Hokage's office while carrying Chakra on his shoulder. Kirin instructed Naruto to inform the Hokage that he desired a leave of absence from the village and to request one of those chakra papers to determine his strongest suit. It seems that Kirin and Nine Tails had discussed Kirin's training with each other, and Nine Tails had informed Kirin about the chakra papers. "It's very early," Naruto uttered, yawning. "Well, in order for you to get stronger, this is the way," Kirin replied. "That's correct," Naruto said, clapping his cheeks to rouse him. "Not in that perverse way, you." After entering the Hokage mansion, Naruto proceeded to Hiruzen's office and rapped on the door. "Go in," a voice called. When Naruto opened the door, he saw Hiruzen facing off against paperwork, his worst enemy. Naruto said, "Hey, old man," as he entered. "Oh Naruto, you wake up early, that's unusual. What's wrong?" Hiruzen turned to him and asked, brushing off his current struggle with paperwork. "I'll get straight to the point. I want to have a leave of absence from the village for a month so I can focus on my training," Naruto said incredulously to Hiruzen. Hiruzen said, "Okay, I understand that you want to prepare for the third section of the exams, but why wouldn't you want to train in one of our training grounds?" Naruto shook his head. "I don't want any distractions when I am training. Besides, I know Kakashi-sensei is going to train Sasuke because he's going against Gaara, so he won't be able to train me," Naruto stated, not that he required them. Considering what Naruto had said, Hiruzen realized that, in light of what Kakashi had done to Guy's pupil, Kakashi really must prepare the Uchiha to take on the Sand Ninja. "So, who will teach you then?" Hiruzen inquired. After giving it some thought, Naruto asked, "Kirin, should I tell him now?" Naruto nodded his head in agreement as Kirin said, "It's up to you if you want, Naruto, but I think now is the time to do so before you leave, plus you should tell him what you told me." "Naruto?" Naruto shook his head and Hiruzen spoke. "Sorry, I was lost in thought, and I do have someone to train me," said Naruto. "Well, who is it?" Hiruzen inquired. "Well, let's go." Naruto sighed and took a serious tone. Naruto surprised Hiruzen by saying, "I think it's time I told you what I displayed during the preliminaries." However, he quickly became serious and gestured with his hands for his hidden Anbu to leave them alone, making Hiruzen pay close attention. Naruto started telling the third about everything that had happened up to this point, including the memory he saw with the black cat. He kept the part where his eyes turned different when he channeled chakra into them a secret for the time being. He told the third about how his team betrayed him and left him there alone, how he awakened to his dark power, and how he met Kirin and Chakra who were on his shoulder. To say that Hiruzen was taken aback would be an understatement. A range of emotions were racing through him at the moment, including rage at what his team had done and sorrow over what Naruto must have been going through. Hiruzen said gravely, "Naruto, I'm sorry that happened to you. I promise that your team will get the right punishment they deserve." Naruto remained silent in response, not wanting to see his team, especially Yukino, suffer consequences for their actions, which he felt were unacceptable. Therefore, it is only fair that they be held accountable for their actions. Unexpectedly, Hiruzen said, Also, about that legend you talked about, I actually heard of it before. To Kirin and Naruto. You were aware of, surprised, Naruto said, and Hiruzen nodded. Yes, it's not one of my favorites because of the ending, but to think it was real all along, said he. So you think what I've told you so far? He inquired, and Hiruzen gave a nod. Yes, you will be meeting this Iris person you mentioned and her partner soon, right? You have a big responsibility ahead of you, so you better be prepared for it. Hiruzen inquired, and Naruto gave a nod. Yeah, that's what I've been told. I am not sure when though. Well, you best get ready for their arrival, and about Kabuto and Orochimaru, I'll have to keep an eye out for them. Thank you for telling me about this, he said with a nod. May I therefore take a month long leave of absence? As Naruto inquired once more, Hiruzen grinned and nodded. Of course, Naruto. Also, if you want, I can sign someone to train you while you're out, Hiruzen replied. Who are you thinking of? Naruto inquired. Well, it's actually Jiraiya, a student I taught when I was still a sensei. Despite being a pervert, he is a powerful shinobi and even a member of the Sannin. Like Orochimaru, too, Hiruzen said to Naruto, who nodded. Many thanks, old man, Naruto grinned. Hiruzen said, all right, I'll send Jiraiya a letter to let him know you're going to train with him and what's going on right now, and Naruto nodded. All right, and do you also happen to possess one of those chakra papers? He inquired. Yes, I do. But why? Naruto said, I wanted to see what my elemental nature is, and Hiruzen nodded before handing him a little piece of paper sealed with a seal. Thus, how does this operate? He inquired. You just channel chakra into the paper and it will do either 5 things. If you have fire, then it will turn to ash. If it's water, then it will get wet. If you have wind, then it will be split into 2. If you have lighting, then it will get wrinkled. And if you have earth, then it will turn to dust, Hiruzen concluded. After giving a nod and directing some chakra into the paper, Naruto and Hiruzen were shocked by what they saw. The paper broke into 2 pieces, one of which became moist and wrinkled together. Hiruzen expressed surprise and Naruto nodded. That's unexpected. It's really rare to see someone with 3 affinities, and it seems you have an affinity for wind, water, and lighting. Are there any scrolls here that I could try? Naruto inquired. Indeed. Hiruzen said, here you go. She was holding 3 scrolls. A green, a blue, and a yellow one. Thank you. How about earth and fire? Do you also want one for those 2? I wanted to see if I can try to use them as well, Naruto said with a nod. Okay, that makes sense. However, since you lack an affinity for fire and earth, it will be more difficult for you to learn them, Hiruzen remarked, handing Naruto 2 more scrolls, one of which was red and the other brown. Naruto said appreciatively, thank you for doing this for me, and Hiruzen grinned at him. Anytime, Naruto. Just as Naruto was ready to leave, he suddenly realized. Oh, if Kakashi-sensei asked where I am, can you tell him I am training outside of the village, replied Naruto. Yes, of course, Hiruzen replied, and Naruto turned to face the large stack of papers on his desk as he walked out the door. Hiruzen questioned, how did you all do it? As he studied the pictures of the previous Hokage on the wall, focusing on the 4th one. Hiruzen was startled out of his reverie when Naruto once more peered through the door. Naruto? Have you forgotten anything? He inquired. Oh no, I was just letting you know that if you want to finish your work faster, why don't you use shadow clones? With that, Naruto departed. Hiruzen simply gazed at Naruto's location and remarked, it was that easy. He then turned to face the wall's pictures before turning back to his desk. Scene alteration. As Naruto left the Hokage mansion to start his journey outside the village to train, he grinned. When he heard the noises he had been waiting for, his smile was fulfilled. Fuck. Naruto was fairly certain that the 3rd person screamed until his throat dropped, startling even Chakra out of her sleep. What the heck was that? She inquired, but Naruto simply grinned. Oh, nothing. Okay. I should be able to find this guy near the hot springs. Sigh. I don't know why this guy can't just meet us when we're outside of the village. It would have made things much easier, Naruto said as he approached the bathhouses of the Leaf. There's nothing we can do about it. Besides, I agree with the 3rd that you can't leave the village on your own, even with Kirin with you, Chakra said over Naruto's shoulder. I wanted us to leave the village right away so we can begin your training, but have to agree with this one. There's still enemies you could encounter outside of the village. Kirin concurred. Who can tell what kind of monsters wait in the shadows? He's still sealed, as far as I can tell. Kirin thought to himself in memory, thanks to me and Iris, but that doesn't mean that his darkness still doesn't taint other living beings. Naruto peered around and said, well, we're here, so where is this guy? There were only a few bathhouses, one for men and one for women, and a bridge that crossed some steaming water, but Naruto couldn't see anyone in the area. Somewhere around here, he has to be, Chakra added while still searching. Then Kirin recalled something. Wait, do we even know what Jiraiya looks like? Kirin asked, breaking the silence among them. Naruto uttered, no, as. Now what should we do? Kirin asked. Maybe he'll reveal himself or something, replied Chakra. Either that or we have to look for him ourselves, Kirin responded. Naruto began, maybe we can visit the old man again but someone interrupted him. Hey, you. Turning to face the voice, Naruto and Chakra assumed it was speaking to them. However, when Naruto got a close-up look at the person yelling, he was shocked to see. The man yelling at the other man who was laughing toward the women's restroom was Ebisu, Kamahamaru's mentor. Why is he snooping on the girls? Chakra exclaimed, shocked and repulsed. Maybe he be, Kirin and Naruto wondered. The man had fair skin, was tall and well built, and had red marks running down both of his eyes. His attire comprised of a green short shirt kimono and matching pants, with his waist length, spiky white hair tied in a ponytail. He was wearing mesh armor underneath, which was visible at his ankles and wrists. In addition, he wore a red haori with 2 yellow circles on each side, a black belt, handguards, and traditional Japanese wooden sandals. As he charged at the man, Ebisu exclaimed, I don't know who you are or where you're from, but I will not allow indecency. The man gave Ebisu a bored look as he bit into his finger, drawing blood, made a hand gesture, and slammed his hand down, causing some seals to emerge and smoke to burst. Naruto and Chakra were shocked to see the man wearing a necklace and a huge orange frog with gray markings. What did he do? A shocked Chakra asked. Kirin remarked, looks like he summoned that frog. Naruto asked, so a summoning technique? Perhaps, Kirin remarked. The frog surprised Ebisu by opening his mouth, grabbing him by the stomach with its long tongue, lifting him up, and slamming him into the ground, knocking him out cold. The man turned back to face the direction of the girls' bathroom and said, don't make a ruckus. Geez, it won't do to be found out. This time, however, he was writing things down with a pen and paper. What's up with that blatant pervert? Chakra exclaimed, turning to face Naruto. Naruto, take action. With a sigh, Naruto approached the man who was passing by Ebisu's body. He approached the man and gave him a quick pat on the shoulder. The man said to them, go away, I'm creating a masterpiece. As Chakra nodded, Naruto remarked, you know it's illegal to peek on the women in the hot springs. The man said, go away, kid. I'm busy. Naruto said, okay, don't say I didn't warn you, and inhaled deeply. Then Naruto heard someone scream, there's a pervert peeking through the fence on the women's bathhouse. The man questioned in alarm, kid, what did you just do? Naruto said, you better remember this, and then swiftly vanished to watch as a group of enraged women beat the man. Chakra remarked, HMPH. Serves him right. If Iris was the one he was spying on in the bath, he wouldn't get this kind of punishment, said Kirin. Naruto thought, I wouldn't want to be him. The man behind Naruto startled him and Chakra hissed at him, saying, that wasn't nice, kid. Well, it's your fault for peeping on the girls in the baths, said Naruto. I wasn't peeping, I was doing research. You wouldn't get it, said the man. Indeed, research, Naruto remarked mockingly. Naruto asked, who are you anyway, pervert? And the man grinned. Who am I? The man asked, calling forth a toad before beginning to dance. Then I'll tell you. The title, Frog Hermit, is merely a disguise. I shall tell you my true identity. I am the man who has no enemies in the north, south, east and west. Not even in the heavens. I am one of the Sanin, and I am not just a pervert, I am a super pervert. The great toad sage. Jiraiya, the man now in question, concluded his began. After Jiraiya's awkward introduction, Naruto and Chakra's eyes were twitching with a drop of sweat. Kirin remarked, looks like we found him. It's unbelievable that this is him, Chakra thought. You've got to be kidding me, sighed Naruto. Naruto remarked, so you're the guy I'm supposed to meet. Jiraiya asked Naruto, it depends, what's your name, kid? His name is Naruto Uzumaki. Jiraiya observed Naruto for a short while and said, he looks just like him. Hello. Jiraiya nodded. Nothing. Yeah, the third told me what your situation is and to prepare you for what's coming, so it's my job to train you, and the same with this Kirin person that you mentioned to the third, he said with seriousness. Alright, good, so when can we leave? I wanted to get started with my training as soon as possible, said Naruto. Jiraiya said, okay, we're going to go in a minute. I gotta finish my research first, and she headed to a different women's restroom. Are you serious? Does he lack self-respect? Chakra exclaimed, shocked. Naruto thought, oh hell no, as he reached out and sent some dark energy into his arm. Jiraiya was dragged away from the bathhouses by a clawed hand that appeared to be dark. Jiraiya exclaimed, what the hell? Let me go, I have to finish. Naruto walked toward the village gates, saying, you ain't finishing nothing, and you're not going to pull this when we're training either. Jiraiya pleaded with Naruto, okay, just stop pulling and let me walk, please, but he ignored her and continued to walk. Scene alteration. While traveling to the hospital to visit Sasuke and Lee, who were also patients, Sakura glanced at Yukino and saw a red hand mark on her cheek. Hey Yukino, why do you have a red hand mark on your cheek? Sakura inquired. Glancing at Sakura, Yukino touched her cheek, feeling a slight burning pain there. Knowing right away that it was from Ino's slap, she knew what it was. After telling her what had happened in the forest, she received a slap on the face, but she didn't hold Ino responsible for it. She told her that Ino had smacked her because she was angry and furious, and when Ino realized what she had done, she apologized repeatedly, but Yukino said it was okay because she deserved it for what she had done to Naruto. Yukino admitted, oh, it's nothing, I just... Sigh, Ino slapped me, shocking Sakura, who stopped moving. She exclaimed, what? Why? Walking on, Yukino remarked, I told Ino what we did to Naruto in the forest and she didn't have a good reaction to it. Sakura questioned, why did you tell her? She didn't need to know, but Yukino shook her head. Me and Naruto promised to tell her what happened, because she noticed how our team was acting towards each other, said Yukino. But, when Yukino and Ino arrived at the hospital by the front gates, Yukino said, we're here, ending their conversation. Hi there, guys, Ino greeted Yukino and Sakura. Sakura said, hey Ino. How are you today, to the blonde? I'm good, it was good to sleep in my own bed again, Ino replied. Shall we go inside now? After Sakura and Yukino simply nodded, the three of them entered and were welcomed by the receptionist. She smiled and said, hello, what can I do for you three young ladies today? Yukino said to the woman, we would like to see Sasuke Uchiha, do you know which room he's in? I am terribly sorry, but Mr. Sasuke is not receiving visitors at this time, said the woman. Oh okay. These two are actually with me. Kakashi approached the group while holding his book. Can you allow them to see Sasuke? Asked he. Oh, that's definitely the case, the woman remarked. Sorry Ino, I have to talk with these two about something Team 7 related, Kakashi responded. Ino turned to the receptionist and said, okay, I get it. I guess I can go see how Lee's doing then. Can I go see him instead? Sure you can, but Mr. Lee is not in a better condition than Sasuke is, so don't expect a very long visit. Please follow me. The woman replied and got up. Alright, I'll see you guys later then, Ino said, leaving the two girls and their sensei alone as he and the lady walked to Lee's room. Okay, you two follow me, Kakashi said as he entered the hallway once more and made his way to Sasuke's room, Yukino and Sakura trailing behind. Although Yukino and Sakura were aware that Kakashi wanted to talk to them because he needed answers from the Tower of the Forest of Death, Yukino insisted that the discussion be held in a private setting, and Kakashi agreed, saying that going to where Sasuke is in his room alone is a good way to start a conversation about what transpired in the forest. Yukino inquired, is Naruto here, in Sasuke's room? Entering a hospital room, Kakashi said, no, he's not. I thought he would be with you too when you came to the hospital, but I guess not, but that's fine. I wanted to talk with you three anyway. When they arrived, Sasuke was awake and wearing his hospital gown. He turned to face his sensei and his teammates, but he didn't respond to them. Sakura asked, Sasuke, how are you feeling? Following his, I'm fine, statement, there was silence. Yukino recalled what she and Ino had discussed during the preliminary talks. She still hasn't had time to process her newfound emotions, but she also wondered where Naruto was. This morning, she heard a terrible scream that nearly woke up the entire village. Deciding she couldn't sleep any longer, she got up and went to Naruto's apartment, but when she knocked on his door, he didn't answer. She tried several times, but each time he didn't. Yukino didn't want to tell Sasuke that Ino had slapped her when he saw the hand mark on her cheek and asked, why do you have a red hand mark on your cheek? Did someone slap you? I smacked my cheek a little bit because I had to wake up somehow this morning, but I didn't know it left a mark. Yukino lied, and Sasuke narrowed his eyes but nodded. Sakura called out to her team, speaking of, did anyone else hear that scream this morning? To get their attention. Sasuke remarked, I did. What was that all about? I don't know, I couldn't go back to sleep because of it, Yukino replied. And Sakura said, me neither, I was half asleep when I heard it, so I thought it was just my imagination, said Kakashi. For a brief while, the room was silent. Kakashi nodded and Sasuke said, you said you wanted to talk with us? He nodded, yes, and took a seat in one of the room's chairs. So, what's it then? Sasuke asked impatiently, and Sakura and Yukino appeared concerned. I want to know what exactly happened in the forest of the second exam and what has caused Naruto to act differently. Kakashi was serious. Scene alteration. Sunlight danced on the placid surface of a slow, moving river that was roughly 3 miles from the village, where Naruto and Jiraiya stood amid the tall trees of the Land of Fire. We don't have much time before your match, and you'll be up against some very capable opponents, so we need to think of ways to complement your strengths, Jiraiya said. Kirin, do you have any ideas? Naruto inquired. We could do a sparring match to determine where you are at now. Since your awakening of your dark powers did some changes to your body, you should show some better results than before, Kirin stated, and Naruto nodded. How about a sparring match? Kirin said. We can do that to determine where I stand, Naruto responded. Jiraiya inquired, oh right, he's part of this too. Yeah, we can do that, but is there a way I can speak with him first? Naruto considered her question. Kirin was asked by Naruto, is it okay with you? Kirin responded, yeah, it's okay. I wanted to talk to him anyway, and Naruto nodded. He said yeah, he also wanted to talk with you as well, Naruto replied. Jiraiya watched Naruto close his eyes, and then his appearance began to change. His blonde hair, orange and blue jumpsuit, and a few strips of red turned black and red. When Naruto opened his eyes, they were green with a tiny slit in them. Kirin inquired, hello Jiraiya, you wanted to speak with me? From inside Naruto. Jiraiya asked, you're Kirin? And he nodded. Jiraiya said gravely, okay, I wanted to ask if you made contact with the 9 Tails. Kirin asked, you know about him then? Jiraiya nodded. Yeah, I have, in fact, made a deal with him, Kirin responded, causing Jiraiya's eyes to widen in shock. What? Exclaimed Jiraiya, as he opened his mouth to say something more, but Kirin waved him off with a raised palm. You don't have to worry, it's nothing bad that will cause damage to Naruto. The opposite actually, I just wanted him to train Naruto so he can get stronger than he is now as soon as possible. Okay, I get that after what I've been informed, but why would you want the help from the 9 Tails to train him when I am here? Also, what if he corrupts Naruto? Jiraiya responded. He won't corrupt him since I'm going to be there to watch over their training sessions. Also, this was before the 3rd asked you to train Naruto, so we can't change it now, Kirin responded. Well, as long as you watch over him then it's fine, Jiraiya replied. You are being awfully protective of Naruto even though you just met him today, Kirin said. Jiraiya remarked, he just looks like a student I had once. Kirin narrowed his eyes and returned to his topic. Anyway, I also wanted to talk with you about something. It's about the training schedule that me and the 9 Tails made, Kirin responded. Jiraiya said, okay, what do you have in mind? Well, first off, you are going to train him first in the morning to see what he needs to improve, and if you want to teach him something, I say you should help him improve his fighting skills, his chakra control, and mediating, said Kirin. Jiraiya gave a nod. Alright, I can do that. I was planning on teaching him something anyway. Okay, after you is going to be the 9 Tails. He will train him in learning some ninjutsus and some chakra control, and whatever he wants to help Naruto improve, but mostly how to use his chakra. How exactly will the 9 Tails train Naruto into using his chakra? Asked Jiraiya. I'm not sure myself, but they are either going to train in Naruto's mindscape or out here with him hearing the 9 Tails instructions, but if he does do it out here then us two can keep an eye out, Kirin said while Jiraiya nodded in agreement. Okay, and what about you? What are you going to train Naruto in? Replied he. I am going to train him to using a sword and to control his darkness. That's the most important I want to do. If I don't then he'll be corrupted by his own darkness, and of course I'm going to teach him a whole lot of stuff that he will have to learn in the future, Kirin stated, but Jiraiya was perplexed. Wait, Naruto's darkness is a part of him the same as you, right? So why would it corrupt him? Replied Jiraiya. I've seen it happen before, back in my time. It even happened to me when I couldn't control my emotions. That's not how it works. Kirin shook his head. The darkness is like another entity. It's the same thing with light, but that's different altogether. Kirin felt something brush against his skin as he looked to see Chakra on his shoulder and smiled at her. He thought, I'm not going to let Naruto do the same thing I did. I see. Kirin closed his eyes and gave Naruto back control, saying, I should give Naruto back control since we lost so much time already. As soon as he opened his eyes, Naruto's appearance returned to normal. May we begin now? Naruto inquired. Yeah, let's get started. By the way, don't use your dark powers for this sparring match. I only want to see what you could do, Jiraiya replied with a nod. As they assumed a fighting stance, they separated from one another. Naruto said, Chakra, go over there so you can be safe, and Chakra leapt off his shoulder and nodded. Chakra said, okay, good luck, and be careful, and Naruto nodded. Naruto thought, I can't afford to let my guard down since the old man trained him. Naruto nodded mentally as Kirin said, I agree, we don't have any information about him but he does on us. We did see what he could do before with that other ninja, but that's about it. Naruto suddenly burst into a sprint toward Jiraiya. It's quick, Jiraiya thought. Jiraiya blocked a right hook that Naruto threw as he closed the distance between them. He thought, he's strong for his age, hey, almost reminds me of her. In retaliation, Jiraiya attempted to punch Naruto, but he shifted his body to make room and attempted to kick him. Jiraiya leapt up, and Naruto pulled out some shuriken and threw them in Jiraiya's direction. Jiraiya pulled out a kunai, deflected them all, and threw it at Naruto, who slightly turned his head to avoid it and made the sign of a cross. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 20 Naruto clones materialized in a cloud of smoke and charged toward Jiraiya, with half of them brandishing a kunai. Jiraiya then gestured with his hands. Earth Style. Dark Swamp. When Jiraiya put his hands in the ground, the clones stopped in their tracks and the ground beneath them turned into a sloppy, brown, muddy sludge that was slowly sinking them. Half of the clones that still had their kunai threw them at Jiraiya before pooping into smoke along with the rest. Jiraiya avoided every kunai they sent, and, unbeknownst to him, the real Naruto's face twitched a little and he could have sworn he saw images from the clone's perspective, but he quickly dismissed it. You're going to need to perform better than that, Jiraiya teased Naruto. Okay, then suit yourself. When Naruto extended his hand, the sword of darkness flew into his hand and a black and red portal emerged. Jiraiya exclaimed, Hey, I said to not use your dark powers. Naruto said, Yes you did, but I'm just using it to get my sword, as he sprinted toward Jiraiya, sword in hand. Naruto pointed to his sword and remarked, You said you wanted me to show you what I can do, this is part of it. As Naruto prepared to strike Jiraiya with his sword, he moved out of the way, causing the sword to strike the ground and create a sizable fracture in the surface. Jiraiya thought in shock, that sword is powerful, if it had struck, it would have split me in two. I have to end this. Jiraiya attempted to kick Naruto, but he used the sword to perform a front flip. Landing on his feet, he forcibly removed the sword from the ground and assumed his usual stance. Jiraiya gestured with her hands and yelled, Fire Style. Flame Bomb. When Jiraiya opened his mouth, a medium-sized fireball shot towards Naruto. He then raised his sword and struck the jutsu, splitting it in two and sending black smoke billowing up around the scene. It was cut through. Jiraiya was shocked to think, looks like that sword is more than just powerful, it cut through my chakra like it was easy. In order to improve his vision, Naruto looked around and channeled some chakra into his eyes. He didn't know this. Jiraiya yelled and made the same hand gesture that Naruto had earlier. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Even though Naruto channeled chakra into his eyes, he was unable to see anything in the smoke as he created 20 clones of himself and charged into it. When Jiraiya nearly hit him from behind, Naruto followed his instincts and dodged to the right. When another Jiraiya nearly hit him, Naruto realized right away that these were shadow clones. He also has shadow clones? Naruto thought. Seems like it, Kirin answered. The smoke began to disappear, and Jiraiya's clones began to poof into smoke as Naruto stood up and began to spin rapidly while the sword began to build up some wind and it gradually started to pick up around him. After searching everywhere for Jiraiya without success, Naruto followed his instincts and turned around, only to see Jiraiya holding a whirling ball of chakra. As Jiraiya was ready to stop this, Naruto turned around, and although Jiraiya was shocked to see that his eyes had changed once more, he knew what those eyes were. Jiraiya saw Naruto's now yellow eyes with black markings in the shape of a web and 5 different colored orbs surrounding it, and thought, it can't be those eyes. When Naruto swung his sword horizontally at Jiraiya, he broke free from his trance. He dodged at the last moment and thrust his hand towards Naruto's stomach. Rasengan. Naruto is thrown back toward a tree and spun around by Jiraiya's jutsu. Ah! Chakra hurried over to Naruto as he was unable to stand up due to his fixation on the sky. Naruto, are you alright? Chakra remarked as she started to glow, healing him already. Yes, it was just my stomach that was struck, Naruto uttered through clenched teeth. He just nodded when she said, okay, hold on. You almost had me there, that was a good spar, Jiraiya said as she moved to approach them. What was that? Naruto inquired. It's called the Rasengan. It was created by the 4th Hokage and he taught me it, Jiraiya replied. That jutsu was made by the 4th Hokage. Surprised, Naruto said. Jiraiya nodded and said, he was also a student of mine once. Naruto's expression of wonder gave way to uncertainty. Are you certain about that? Naruto questioned dutifully. I'm sure, of course. Who wouldn't want to have my traits? Without delay, Naruto raised his hand. Jiraiya's expression fell, becoming melancholic. If it makes you feel any better, it's only because of you being a pervert that I don't want to be, Naruto replied. But Jiraiya muttered, but that's the best part. Thanks to Chakra, Naruto was now completely healed, and he stood up. I appreciate it, Chakra, Naruto grinned back at her. You're welcome, she exclaimed, leaping onto his shoulder. Okay, tell me what you think, Naruto inquired. Well, you seem to know the Shadow Clone Jutsu, which is good but that seems to be the only jutsu that you know, Jiraiya said, shaking his head. Well, I tell you that you definitely have skills, but there's room for improvement. The Shadow Clone Jutsu was the only one I learned. I couldn't learn anything else at the time due to my chakra control, said Naruto. Okay, well we're going to work on that, but there's something I want to teach you first, Jiraiya responded. What is it? Jutsu is calling forth. In some situations, it enables you to call upon animals to aid you in combat, Jiraiya said. You must have seen what I did in the hot springs, don't you? He spoke, and Naruto gave a nod. Okay, first you draw blood from your hand and make these specific hand signs. Jiraiya demonstrated the jutsu hand signs to Naruto. They included the signs for a boar, a dog, a bird, a monkey, and a ram. Jiraiya said, alright, make sure you remember these hand signs in order to do it, and Naruto nodded. Jiraiya said, okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to get something, and turned to leave. So I'm going to have 2 ways to summon animals, one using chakra and one using my darkness, said Naruto. I rather you do it with chakra instead of your dark powers, said Chakra. I agree with Chakra, until you have better control over your darkness you can't summon anything using it, Kirin replied. Will my ability to control darkness affect how my summon responds to me, as it did with the previous black cat? Naruto inquired. Indeed, consider the following scenario. You summon a strong animal, but your control over your darkness is lacking. How do you think this will affect your summon and you? Kirin uttered. It probably won't listen to me properly, inquired Naruto, sensing Kirin nod in agreement. After giving something some thought, Naruto bit into his thumb and drew blood. Are you planning to try calling something forth? Citra inquired, and Naruto gave a nod. Naruto said, yeah, I want to see what would happen, and made the appropriate hand gestures for the jutsu. Alright. To truly summon something, all you need to do is have a blood contract, Jiraiya stated while brandishing a large scroll, but Naruto interrupted her. Calling in jutsu. Jiraiya was frozen, staring at the location where Naruto should have been with his mouth open and eyes wide. He let go of the scroll and let it fall to the ground, looking around him fearfully. Naruto put his hand on the ground, and a seal appeared. Smoke then burst, and Naruto vanished. That's not good, he remarked. Scene alteration. OMG. Team 7 recoiled at the loud cry their sensei had just let out. He was incensed at them. Had they not learned anything from his lessons, he had just found out that the team he was leading had just deserted a member of the team. You 3 had better come up with a reason for what you did to Naruto, Kakashi said, but nobody responded. All right. Sasuke answered for them just as Yukino was ready to speak, but it was too late. The sound team were overwhelming us, so we had to get away and retreat, said Sasuke. And give Naruto some space? Kakashi inquired, and Sasuke remained silent in response. We were going to look for Naruto when Sasuke was better, said Sakura. That's not an acceptable reason. You should never desert a fellow comrade. Did I not warn you 3 that those who desert their allies are the worst kind of people? Kakashi uttered. You did, Sakura replied. What action did you take? He inquired. Glancing down, Yukino said, we abandoned Naruto. That's correct. Sai, I'm really let down by you three, Kakashi stated, glancing at Yukino. Do you know where Naruto is at all? Yukino shook her head when he asked. I went to his apartment this morning but he wasn't there, said Yukino. Maybe Lord Third knows where he is. Please accompany me, Yukino. Kakashi said, we're heading to the Hokage's office. All right, replied Yukino, and the two departed the hospital to head toward the Hokage mansion. After reaching the Hokage's office, Kakashi and Yukino heard a muffled entry as he knocked on the door. Hiruzen was lounging on the couch with 2 copies of himself doing the mountain of paper on his desk when Kakashi opened the door for them. When Hiruzen saw Yukino and Kakashi, he scowled as he turned to see who had entered. Hey, Grandpa, Yukino uttered. Kakashi, Yukino, what can I do you for? He replied. When they were younger, Hiruzen would always greet her and Naruto politely, but Yukino scowled in confusion. Have you seen Naruto, Lord Third? We seem unable to locate him, Kakashi remarked. Ah yes, I have to tell you that Naruto has left the village to go train for the exams, Hiruzen replied. Really, wait? With a nod from Hiruzen, Yukino said. Hiruzen said, yes, so you don't have to worry, he's fine, and Yukino nodded. Do you require anything else at this time? Hiruzen inquired. Kakashi bowed and said, no, thank you, Lord Hokage, that is all. Hiruzen said, okay, you're fired, but I need to talk to you, Yukino, so please stay. Yukino nodded as Kakashi left his office, and Hiruzen motioned for her to join him in a chair. How are you doing now? Yukino inquired. Hiruzen grinned and said, I've been doing fine, thanks for asking. She grinned back, but his smile disappeared and was replaced with disappointment, leaving her perplexed. What's not right? She inquired. Hiruzen said, Yukino. I know what happened back in the forest, and Yukino was taken aback. Oh, Yukino was shaky. Yukino, I am so disappointed in you. I know you are. A little while ago we told Kakashi Sensei what happened as well and he was disappointed in us as well. Yukino nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. Hiruzen pulled her into an embrace as she said, I regret leaving him all alone out there. I'm such a horrible childhood friend. Based on her current behavior, he can tell that she genuinely regrets what she did to Naruto. Have you given him an apology? Hiruzen inquired, and Yukino gave a nod. Yukino said, rubbing her hair, I did. But he didn't accept it. I don't blame him either. I mean, why would he after what we did? Naruto said that we can still be friends, but I can tell that I lost his trust in me, and I don't know what I am supposed to do to get it back, she said while rubbing her eyes. Give him some time, you know this. Something like this doesn't just heal overnight, Hiruzen remarked, nodding. He's changed so much since then, but I know that. I'm not sure what transpired with him, she remarked. Don't worry, everything will be okay, Hiruzen said, grinning. She turned to face him and grinned too. Yes, she replied, giving Hiruzen a hug in return. Thank you. You're welcome. After spending a little while longer in the embrace, Yukino asked Hiruzen a question. By the way, why did it take you so long to employ shadow clones to complete your tasks? She inquired with curiosity. Naruto told me about it before he left, Hiruzen sighed, giving her a blank expression. This made Yukino laugh. Well, I have to go. I still have to train for the exams. Thanks for talking with me, Yukino replied. No issue, just work hard, Hiruzen said, and Yukino nodded before leaving his office. He then sighed once more and turned to examine the pictures hanging on the wall. Unaware that his 2 clones were enviously staring at him and wishing they were in his shoes at the moment, Hiruzen remarked, even with shadow clones it still wasn't easy as he settled back into the couch. Scene alteration. After the smoke cleared, Naruto saw that he was falling from the sky and that Chakra was clinging to him. He hurriedly gathered Chakra into his arms and looked around, trying to figure out what was going on. Why aren't we getting up? Chakra cried out. I'm not sure, Naruto answered. Did you make a mistake somewhere? Kirin uttered. Yes, I did it correctly. Naruto uttered. He and Chakra were enveloped in clouds once more, but soon the clouds parted and they were able to see 7 floating islands. 6 medium islands arranged in a circle, with 1 enormous island situated in the center of the 6. Naruto and Chakra noticed that while the other 6 islands had similar features, the middle island had a town encircled by mountains and forests. Naruto quickly unfurled his wings to see that they had change. While some were still made of leather, others had feathers. Some of the inner layers had red feathers, while the outer layers were made of black leather that had been hardened. He quickly snapped out of it, saying he could worry about that later. He then flew down toward the center island in the forest. When Naruto and Chakra landed, they saw that the only thing encircling them were trees. "Why did you come to rest in the forest rather than the town?" Citra inquired. "I thought it would be much safer if we landed in the forest so we can think of what to do," said Naruto. "I think we should look around, that way we can get a feel of where we are," Kirin said. Naruto said, "Okay, we can do that," and Chakra nodded. After walking for a while, Naruto started to hear sounds that nearly sounded like something moving through the trees, as if it were stalking him and waiting for a chance to attack. "Do you sense that?" Silently, Naruto uttered those words. "Yes, there are 7 in total watching you from a distance," Kirin replied. "Are you aware of its nature?" Naruto inquired. "No, I'm unable to identify it," Kirin uttered. "I don't feel any hostility towards you, they're probably just watching to see what you would do," stated Chakra. Naruto started to jog through the forest until he reached a clearing, but he could see nothing when he looked up at the trees. "All right. Since you 7 have been observing me for some time, why don't you all come outside so we can have a conversation?" Naruto cried out. After a brief period of silence, Naruto heard the sound of enormous wings beating through the sky. He looked up to see 7 dragons, each the size of a house, descend to the ground and surround him. The dragons were all different colors. There was a red dragon in front of him, a green dragon to the side, a blue dragon, a brown dragon, a yellow dragon, and 2 dragons behind him, one black and the other white. The red dragon used this opportunity to lower his head and examine Naruto thoroughly. The dragon looked up and down at Naruto before making eye contact and staring down at him. Naruto had no idea that dragons even existed. Naruto and Chakra stared at these mythical beasts in awe. "To believe they are real," a voice inside Naruto said. "9 tails?" asked Naruto. "So you finally introduce yourself?" Kirin uttered. "How did you discover this location? What's up, Red Dragon?" "I think I messed up the summoning jutsu in some way and so I ended up here in this place by accident. What even is this place anyway?" replied Naruto. "Let me introduce myself first. My name is Pyro the Fire Dragon," the Red Dragon uttered. The Green Dragon declared, "It's my turn. You can call me Gale the Wind Dragon." The Blue Dragon said, "I'm next. You can call me Aqua the Water Dragon." The Yellow Dragon said, "This is me. You can call me Volt the Lighting Dragon." The Brown Dragon said, "You can call me Slab the Earth Dragon." The Black Dragon uttered, "Now it's our turn. You can call me Ruin the Dark Dragon." The White Dragon uttered, "And you can call me Gleam the Light Dragon." "We are the 7 Dragon Guardians that protect our home," said Pyro. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and this is Chakra. It's nice to meet you all," Naruto said, also introducing Chakra. "Nice to meet you both too," Aqua remarked. "So, where is this location?" Naruto uttered. Naruto nodded when Gale said, "This place is called Dralgia, the land of the dragons. It's home to the dragon summons," but he and Chakra were taken aback. "You folks got a summons?" Naruto uttered with a nod of the heads, the 7 dragons. "If that's the case, why didn't I call any of you from my location?" Naruto inquired, perplexed. "Firstly, a summoned creature such as myself is meant to come to you via the summoning jutsu, not the other way around." Volt stated, "The only possible reason you could have shown up here is if you hadn't had a summoning contract when you tried the jutsu, but even then it should have just failed. So you cannot summon us because you have not signed our contract," said Slab. "All right, so I just need to sign your contract in order to call you?" Naruto inquired. "The powerful dragons cannot be called upon by anyone. You cannot call upon us until you have proven your worth through a trial," Ruin stated. "What is the exam procedure?" Naruto inquired. "You have to battle one of our own in combat. If you come out victorious, then we will let you sign a contract with us," said Pyro. "So who will I fight against?" Naruto asked, nodding. "I, myself," a voice said. When Naruto turned to face the voice, he was stunned to see that it was a girl, not much older than he was, with flowing red hair and red eyes. She was dressed for battle with kneecaps, armor boots, and an armor chestplate paired with a black and red jacket. "You're gazing," she uttered. "Sorry, I thought I was fighting another dragon, not a," Naruto said, shaking his head. "For your information, I am a dragon. I am just in my human form at the moment for this occasion," she replied. "Do dragons possess human forms of their own?" "Seems like it." Then she drew a sword with some markings on it and assumed a certain position. "Are you prepared?" she inquired. The dragons saw Naruto grow serious and take on a determined expression. Pyro thought, let's see what you can do. When Naruto extended his hand and a black and red portal opened, the sword of darkness emerged, and he also assumed a stance. He gestured to Chakra to keep a safe distance from them. Yes, he replied. The two made a loud clang as they collided in the middle after charging at each other with an amazing display of speed. Your speed is impressive, she said. I agree, Naruto uttered. The two continued to struggle with one another, but the female dragon showed that she was stronger than Naruto, and he was launched into the air. Naruto made a sign with his hands. Jutsu Shadow Clone. The female saw 20 copies of Naruto rush at her and use her sword to completely destroy the clones. As she dealt with the last clone, she noticed the real Naruto behind it, charging at her. She attempted to jump to escape, but was unable to do so and saw black chains tying her to the ground below. What? With his hand glowing with dark energy, Naruto began to channel his dark powers into it. He then cocked his fist back and punched the woman, sending her flying back. Flap. The female gave two hand signals, then remained motionless and charged at Naruto, her red dragon wings now covering her back. Dragon Arts. The harpies scream. When the female opened her mouth, fire shot out in Naruto's direction. He quickly spun his sword to block the fire blast, but as soon as it stopped, the female launched him into the air. She then materialized above him and gestured with her hands once more. Dragon Claw. In Dragon Arts, her hands began to glow green, resembling the claw of a dragon. She struck Naruto, sending him flying, and smoke burst out, creating a crater. Don't tell me you only have that, I said to her. The dragon onlookers watched in silence for a while. The sword of darkness emerged from the dust cloud and headed toward the female. She deflected it with her own sword, but to her surprise, Naruto was in front of her. He kicked her in the face, lifting her up, then he appeared above her and slammed her to the ground. She noticed Naruto with his head bowed and eyes closed as she got back up. Pay attention to the fight, she spoke, charging once more, but then was knocked back by a sudden surge of power from Naruto. She and the other dragons were intrigued by this, as they noticed that half of Naruto had changed, becoming black and red, and that he had one shining green eye before vanishing and startling the other dragons. Where is he now? The woman uttered, right here. A voice called out to her from behind. She spun around in time to see Naruto's green eye and was sent back by the character. Naruto, who was now behind her, unfurled his wings and lunged at her because she was unable to react quickly enough. All right, she replied, and flames began to envelop her as it began to resemble a small tornado. The 7 dragons exchanged glances and nodded. The tiny fire tornado disappeared, and a smaller red dragon appeared. The dragon charged at Naruto, using its tail to swing at him, but he dodged it and raised the sword of darkness, calling it back to his hand. He then took a swing at the dragon, and to his surprise, the sword barely caused any damage to its skin. The dragon then launched him into the air by its claw, and when Naruto regained consciousness, he saw that the dragon was about to launch a fire attack at him. Naruto placed the sword of darkness on his back, channeling his dark powers with his hands, then thrust them forward, sending a beam of dark energy towards the dragon and in return sent a stream of fire. Whoom. He clenched his teeth as he drew more power from the darkness as he noticed that more of his appearance was gradually turning black and red. The two attacks collided, causing a massive explosion as they attempted to overpower each other. The dragon opened its mouth wider as the stream of fire grew in size as it was pushing back Naruto's own dark beam. Naruto let out a shout as his dark beam expanded to match, if not surpass, the size of the fire stream as it pushed back against it. For a brief moment, he thought he saw Kirin standing next to him before Kirin disappeared. The dragon's fire was ingested by Naruto's dark beam, which overpowered it and dealt significant damage to it. Naruto descended to the grown back in his original appearance while panting, and when the smoke cleared, he saw that the dragon was trying to get back up but then collapsed exhausted. A massive explosion had occurred. The area was now covered in smoke. Alright, that's enough, we've seen plenty, said Pyro. Truly a spectacular battle you had there, said Gale. Indeed, you have shown you are worthy of having signing a summoning contract with us, Pyro replied. Naruto, who was still very tired, felt an unexplained sensation as he turned to see the white dragon glowing and realized it was healing his wounds. He then turned to look at the other dragon and saw that it was also healing, which caused him to exhale in relief. Did I go too far, he wondered. 9. Tails uttered, if you hadn't, you would have been in that dragon's place, if not worse. I agree with the 9. Tails, You saw how tough your skin is when you tried to slash it with the Sword of Darkness. It barely did anything, Kirin replied. Yes, you're right, they're really strong. Once more, Naruto sensed Chakra leaning on his shoulder and rubbing against his neck. Well done, Naruto, Chakra exclaimed. Gratitude. That battle was good, the woman remarked. As the dragon approached him and extended its hand, Naruto turned to see that it had changed into a human. He did the same, and they shook hands. Naruto remarked, yeah, it was. You almost got me there. Yes, I did, but I haven't said hello yet. Flare is my name. It's nice to meet you, Flare smiled, and Naruto returned the smile. Nice to meet you, Flare, I'm Naruto, said he. Naruto nodded as she said, I know, I was watching the interaction between you and the 7 Dragon Guardians. I hope we can battle again sometime, she said. Yeah, it would be good training for both of us. You will sign a contract with us now that you have proven yourself worthy, Pyro said, opening his mouth and staring up at the sky as the other dragons followed suit. One by one, they sent streams of fire in the center, each representing a different color. The 7 dragons combined their fire streams to reveal the summoning scroll along with 2 other objects. A sword and a set of new clothes. This is the dragon's scroll. You have to sign your name in it with your own blood so that you can summon any of us and the rest, Volt said with a nod. Okay, so what's going on with the other 2? He inquired. Think of it as a bonus for what you showed us, said Slab. Okay. When Naruto reached the dragon's scroll, he bit into his thumb to draw blood and began writing his name in it. However, as soon as he finished, the scroll was consumed by flames and vanished, taking with it the 2 other items. Naruto examined the long, black sword that had a blue gem set into the guard and markings along the edges of the blade after picking it up. He then picked up his new outfit, which he might wear to the tournament. That sword was forged from dragon's fire. It was made with a special type of steel that you can only get here in Dralgia, and that gem on the guard, if you put your energy into it, then it will glow to the color that you want, making it stronger, Ruin explained. The dragons nodded when he said, thank you for this. He then directed his dark energies into the gem, causing it to change color from blue to red. Thank you very much. I believe it's time for you to return home now, Pyro said. All right, but how can I return? Don't worry, Gleam said. We've got that covered. After that, Naruto vanished from Dralgia and was engulfed in flames of various colors, including red, blue, green, brown, yellow, black, and white. Scene alteration. When Naruto noticed Jiraiya dozing off by a tree and that it was nighttime, he realized he had returned to his previous location. As he settled his clothes and sword next to him and sat by a tree, Naruto remarked, well, I wouldn't say that this day was wasted. Naruto nodded as Kirin remarked, yeah, I say it was worth it. Now you can summon a dragon whenever you want. The 9. Tails said, hey brat, come inside you mindscape, it's time for your training. All right, but after everything that happened today, won't I be exhausted in the morning? Naruto inquired. He said, you won't, you'll be fully charged in the morning. About to lay down, Naruto said, okay then. Hold on, can I come observe? Chakra inquired. I'm not sure if that's even feasible, Naruto uttered. Kirib said, if she's close by, then I can bring her into your mind, and they both nodded before drifting off to sleep. Scene alteration. Now that Naruto was in his mind's eye, Chakra was looking around. What makes it this way? I said, peering into the sewer. I'm not sure, he answered. Naruto, from a distance, Kirin's voice said, Chakra, follow my voice. With seal written on it, Naruto and Chakra began to flee in the direction of Kirin's voice, and behind it they beheld the 9 Tails in all of their majesty. Well, we can start now, the 9 Tails uttered. Remain still. I'm not sure how you can train like this, can we get a change of scenery here? Chakra asked. The 9 Tails answered, the brats are the only ones who can change this place, not me. How precisely do I do that? Naruto inquired. Kirin said, maybe try thinking about it and it will happen. Naruto slowly opened his eyes again to see what he had imagined after closing them and beginning to visualize a large green field surrounded by flowers and trees. It was successful. It's exactly like what he imagined, Naruto exclaimed, surveying his surroundings. It's stunning. In amazement, Chakra uttered sure, Kirin replied, equally amazed. Well, now that the scenery has changed, it's time for your training to formally start. Are you ready? I'm not going to be easy on you, 9 Tails remarked. Don't think I would either, it's my job as your teacher to help you get stronger, Kirin replied. After giving Kirin a quick glance and nodding, Naruto closed his eyes, inhaled deeply, and let out a long sigh. Indeed, time. Skip. Chunin Exam Stadium A1 month. In Konoha, today was a busy day. People had traveled from all over to witness the Chunin Exam's final round, and they were anticipating the upcoming matches. Some more than others, as it was rumored that Naruto would be facing Gaara of the Sand alongside two other prodigies, Sasuke and Neji, the Hyuga prodigies. The few rookies who did not advance to the finals were sitting in the stands, looking down at all the candidates from their senseis. The fact that 3 of them were missing presented a minor issue, though. It was Yukino, Sasuke, and Naruto who were missing. As she sat next to one of her friends, Sakura, the Pinky shrugged, knowing that he wouldn't miss something like this and that it wasn't like them to not show up. I wonder where Naruto and Yukino could be. Do you know where they are, Sakura? Ino inquired. She hadn't seen Naruto since they were given a month to train. Sakura looked around and didn't see her sensei either, so she said, I'm not sure, Ino. I would have at least thought they would have here by now, especially Naruto after what he said during the preliminaries. According to what Naruto heard from Yukino, Kakashi left the village to train for a month, so he must be with Sasuke since he was training him to fight Gaara. Ino said in a worried voice, well, wherever they are, they better hurry, it's almost about to start. At that moment, Ino and Sakura noticed that Yukino was walking into the arena and turned to face the entrance. They were taken aback to see that she was wearing a new outfit. Whoa! Beautiful. Regarding Yukino's new attire, various remarks were made. She wore a black shinobi battle dress with black flowers encircling it, a gray strap around her stomach with a black bow tied in the back, black leggings that nearly reached her thighs, and black shinobi shoes. To say that she looked stunning would be an understatement. As she turned to face Yukino, Ino remarked, wow, she's gorgeous, no wonder Sasuke chose her instead of us, huh? Yes, Sakura remarked, scowling slightly. Yukino was approaching the other players on foot. Gaara included, they were all lined up, staring at her. Yukino, meanwhile, was feeling awkward about all the attention she was receiving because she hadn't anticipated the crowd's reaction to her new outfit. Then she proceeded to the area that was free next to Shikamaru. Good morning, Choji and Shikamaru, she said. Yes, good morning, Shikamaru said, averting his eyes. Choji said, good morning, Yukino. Yukino questioned the two, did you sleep well? I slept fine. I slept like a log. Shikamaru turned to see the onlookers still staring at Yukino and muttering to themselves. Shikamaru remarked, you sure gave the audience a reason to stare at you, which made Yukino flush. It wasn't my intention to in the first place, I just wanted to wear something new for the exams, she replied. Even so, you still look good wearing that, Choji said. With a smile, she said, thank you, Choji. Yukino looked around to see who was there. She waved to Ino and Sakura in the stands, and they waved back. She also waved to Tenten, who was by herself, and to Kiba and Hinata, who entered the stands and took seats next to each other. Kiba turned away and blushed slightly, but Yukino waved. After giving Hinata a wave back, Yukino turned to face the Hokage booth and noticed Hiruzen with the K's cage. She smiled and nodded at Hiruzen, who returned the favor by scowling as he observed her surroundings. Yukino turned to face the other participants. Shino and Choji were to Shikamaru's side, Neji was to her side, and the 3 ninja from the sand were next to them. But Yukino wondered out loud, where's Naruto and Sasuke? I guess not, I thought you might know where they are, Shikamaru sighed, they're not here yet. Well, wherever they are they better hurry, it's about to start, Choji replied. The exam was about to begin, and Yukino looked worried. Naruto or Sasuke had also appeared. Everyone left the room except for Yukino and Neji, who was standing with his arms crossed. All right, we are about to begin. Will Naruto Uzumaki and Neji Hyuga please step forward while the rest of you go up to fighter's box above? Genma turned to face Yukino, who interrupted, wait, Naruto and Sasuke aren't here yet. Sasuke's match isn't until later on, so he has time to show up, but Naruto is different since his match is right now. If he doesn't show up, then he is disqualified automatically. Now go up to the fighter's box and wait your turn, said Genma. What a shame, it seems fate had other plans and declared me the winner. I was hoping to test myself against his mysterious power, but I guess not. So much for his so-called promise, Neji replied. TCH. Yukino grudgingly made his way to the area where the other contestants were going, cursing herself for not being able to do anything and for possibly losing the competition if Naruto failed to show up. Where are you, Naruto? She thought hastily. Not just her, though, was curious about the whereabouts of a certain blonde. Where could Jiraiya and Naruto be? Hiruzen wondered to himself as he stood in the cage booth. Where are they? He remarked, those two ought to be here by now. The cage asked, what's wrong, Hokage? You seem to be worried about something. Oh sorry, I was just wondering where one of the participants are, Hiruzen said, shaking his head. Cage said, oh, could it be this Uchiha I've been hearing? Oh no, it's someone else, but I'm also curious about his whereabouts, Hiruzen uttered, and the cage gave a nod. They turned around as soon as they heard a frog behind them, and they saw an orange frog with a small scroll on its back. As soon as Hiruzen realized that this was one of Jiraiya's summoning frogs, he got to his feet, approached the frog, and took the scroll off its back. Then, the frog vanished in a puff of smoke. After reading the scroll, Hiruzen said to herself, Hey Sarutobi. Sensei, I'm sorry, but the Gaki and I are going to be late. After being shocked, Hiruzen sighed in frustration. Do you think you can postpone his match with the Hyuga until later on, please and thanks smiley face. He stood back up, thinking, I would have expected this from Kakashi but from both Jiraiya and Naruto, he better not have gotten Kakashi's habits of being late. Genma sighed, looking down at the stadium floor. Since Naruto Uzumaki is not here, the winner by default is Nei. Hiruzen interrupted Genma, saying, Genma, come here real quick. Everyone stopped what they were doing and turned to face the village chief. Gemma, just a moment please, she said before vanishing and then reappearing behind Hiruzen as he mumbled something in her ear. Everyone was silent, wondering why the Hokage had stopped the third exam from starting. Some were perplexed, others irritated, but Yukino, Ino, Hinata, and the other rookies exhaled in relief. They had no idea why the Hokage had stopped the exam, but whatever the reason, it prevented Naruto from being eliminated in the first round. Hiruzen concluded her whispering to Genma, who nodded and moved back to the stadium's center, leaving Neji waiting. Everyone was waiting to hear what would be said, but Yukino, Ino, and Hinata were paying close attention. Genma said, eliciting some joyful and relieved looks on the rookies' faces. Due to Naruto Uzumaki not being here at the moment, we have decided to postpone his match with Neji Hyuga, and so it will be the second to last fight just before the match of Sasuke Uchiha and Gaara of the Sand. However, some of the civilians' faces don't reflect that. Some were even jeered. With a sigh of relief, Yukino was relieved that Naruto still had time to arrive. Glancing to the stands, she saw Hinata and Kiba looking relieved, as did Sakura and Ino. She noticed that some of the civilians had frowns on their faces and that some of them were angry, but she couldn't figure out why they didn't like Naruto. Sure, he played a lot of practical jokes on them, but she wasn't scolded for it. Occasionally, though, he would take the fall for her. She smiled thinking back on all the practical jokes they'd pulled. Yes, Naruto still has more time. That's good, Ino replied. Yes, that's fantastic, Sakura agreed. I'm so glad and Naruto will be able to still fight, said Hinata. With his arms crossed, Kiba stated, yeah, he better not waste any more time and actually be here. One of the civilians said, drawing the attention of the present sensei and the rookies. Why don't you just disqualify him then if he's not here? Genma turned to face the civilian who had spoken. Lord Hokage made the final decision. It wasn't mine to make, he said in a composed manner. The civilian yelled, but he's the demon. The one who took our families from us. He shouldn't even be here in the first place. He should be 6 feet under. Yukino, Shikamaru, Shino. Though you can't see him because of his shades, Ino, Sakura, and even Hinata gave him a stern look. Genma and Hiruzen also heard what the civilian said, along with some of the rookies. The Sand team noticed this, including Gaara, who paid close attention. The civilian went on, but Yukino interrupted him because she could take it no longer. No one has said anything about the demon container until now. Aren't you afraid what he might do? He's going to kill us all. She cried, shut up, drawing everyone's attention. Unknown to her and everyone else, Yukino's eyes flashed green, but they quickly returned to their normal ones. He hasn't done anything of the sorts of things you said. He's the most kind, caring, and friendly person I have ever met in my life. I'm not going to stand here letting you say all those horrible things you think Naruto did when he clearly didn't do, Yukino exclaimed. Unexpectedly, Hinata said without stuttering, she's right. If you actually took the time to get to know Naruto, then you would see he isn't that kind of person you say he is. Yeah. So how about you shut up and be quiet and let the exam continue, huh? Ino replied. The civilian said, what? I'm trying to save your pretty little ass. You really think you know him? You don't know jack shout of what we saw that day. Yukino, Ino, Hinata, and everyone else gave him disgusted looks. Hiruzen intervened to stop the Jonin sensei from going to the civilian. From the booth, Hiruzen exclaimed, "Enough." Hiruzen commanded, "I will not let you cause a scene more than you already have. Anbu, take him away," and the Anbu carried out the civilian's removal from the arena. "Anyone else who comments on this matter will be treated the same way. Understand?" he exclaimed. Silence fell, and Hiruzen nodded for Genma to add, "All right, we will move on to the next match. Will Shikamaru, Nara and Tamari of the Sand come down?" Genma responded. As everyone waited for Shikamaru to descend, they witnessed the Suna girl glide down on her enormous fan. Shikamaru sighed and remarked, "I can't believe I got to fight another girl. This is such a drag." "Good luck, Shikamaru," Yukino remarked, still not completely cool from the previous moment. With a nod, Shikamaru descended the stairs cautiously and took a position in front of his opponent. Meanwhile, involving a specific blonde. Scene alteration. "All right, Gaki, Sarutobi sensei should have gotten the message I sent," Jiraiya responded. Boom. Naruto was standing in the forest, breathing a little, holding his new outfit and sword in his hand when there was an unexpected explosion. Flames surrounded him, then vanished, leaving behind his black sword and the sword of darkness strapped to his back. Naruto wanted to complete his last minute training before returning to the village. "When are you going to stop calling me that?" he responded. "It's not like you said anything before, besides I haven't forgotten what you did back at the hot springs," Jiraiya responded. Despite Jiraiya's perverted nature and the ridiculous book he was writing on, Chakra had grown accustomed to him over the past month and asked, "Even though you deserved it?" As she leapt on Naruto's shoulder, however, she soon discovered that Jiraiya was more than that. She spoke to Jiraiya when they were standing next to a cliff after he shoved Naruto off, frightening him so much that he fell as well. She laughed the entire time as Naruto flew backward on his wings, holding Jiraiya in his hand. "I told you it was for my research, we know," Chakra and Naruto interrupted him. HMPH, Jiraiya averted her gaze from them. Moving forward, Kirin remarked, "I'm impressed by how much you've grown since we started your training," as he materialized next to Naruto and Chakra in black particles. Kirin is now able to manifest himself from Naruto's mindscape into his world, albeit only temporarily, as a result of Naruto's increased strength as a result of his training from Jiraiya, Kirin, and the Nine Tails. "Thanks, although you really didn't hold back on my training, did you?" replied Naruto. "We had to get you strong, and plus it worked out for both of us because now I can manifest myself here and you learned what you needed to learn from me for the time being," Kirin stated. Naruto can now fully use the Sword of Darkness and the black sword he obtained from the dragons because he learned how to wield a sword and some sword arts from Kirin during their training. Not only did Kirin teach Naruto how to use his demonic strength and speed, but also how to use his wings more and fly correctly, giving him more mobility to dodge and do other things. Kirin also taught Naruto magic, specifically elemental magic, and was surprised to see that Naruto had a natural talent for using magic and could pick things up more quickly. Then came the crucial training. Kirin instructed Naruto on how to better control his dark abilities in addition to his dark transformation. He also taught him how to control his emotions, primarily his anger, as the darkness can draw power from them. Finally, Kirin advised Naruto to practice meditation because it was crucial for him to have a strong mind in order to resist being easily corrupted by the darkness. "He's correct, I can't have a weak container. Keep in mind that you speak for me, so your reputation affects you here," Nine Tails uttered. "Yeah, I hear you. I guess that's why you trained me in the first place, right?" Naruto replied. When Naruto first began training with the Nine Tails, the Kyuubi gave him some basic exercises to practice chakra control, and each time Naruto mastered them, he would make them harder. After the chakra control exercises, the Kyuubi assisted Naruto in using a few jutsu from the scroll that Hiruzen had given him. He began by using the scrolls for wind, water, and lightning and then added fire and earth, though it took some time for him to master those because he didn't have an affinity for either element. Even some of the jutsu that Naruto knew from his days before sealing were imparted to him by the Kyuubi. Then, the Kyuubi trained Naruto's body. Kirin taught him how to use his increased strength and speed, but the Kyuubi wanted to work on his mobility and dodging skills. To that end, he fired small projectiles at him, making the task harder because he was wearing weights. In order to improve his mobility, the Kyuubi wanted Naruto to go through a forest, jump from tree to tree, and see how he could move around without using any chakras. This was essentially parkour. Naruto rolled his eyes and looked at Kirin, who shook his head. Nine Tails said, "Like I said, I can't have a weak container. In addition to I can't have you die because if you die then I also die as well, and I'm pretty sure it's the same with Kirin. Anything you say, he uttered. Jiraiya said, well, I think we should start getting back to the village for your match, and Kirin nodded. He's right, they won't wait forever, and I want to see if your training paid off, Kirin responded. Naruto and Kirin laughed as Chakra exclaimed, yeah, plus I want to see you kick that Neji guy's butt. Naruto said, placing his sword in its scabbard at his waist, don't worry, I will. Okay, let's move on, Chakra said. Jiraiya remarked, we might want to start running then if we want to make it. Naruto considered his words for a moment before answering. I got a better idea, Chakra asked, what is it? Naruto said, unfolding his black and red wings, I can just use my wings to fly us there so it can be faster. Also, I always wanted to drop in and make a good entrance. Scene alteration. What the hell was that Shikamaru? Ino exclaimed, filling the stadium with sound as some fans heckled the outcome of the previous game and her sensei stood behind her, drenched in perspiration. Shikamaru and Tamari of the Sand squared off just a few seconds ago, during which Shikamaru demonstrated his strategy for extending the range of his shadow possession jutsu by using the shadows cast by the trees. However, in an unexpected turn of events, he was the one who gave up because of his seemingly low chakra reserves. Tamari was declared the winner of the match as a result. As he ascended the stairs to join the others, Shikamaru muttered, troublesome blonde. Hi Shikamaru. Choji exclaimed, waving Yukino over to his side. You did great, although I wish the ending result could have been a bit different, said Yukino. With a shrug, Shikamaru looked around and said, I couldn't do anything about it. I was low on chakra when I was trying to catch Tamari with my shadow. Yukino and Choji shook their heads in response to his question. Naruto or Sasuke still isn't here yet. No, he hasn't. I had assumed he would be here when you were done with your match, Yukino said, appearing concerned. Same here, Choji remarked as he took a bag of chips out and began munching. Shikamaru inquired, you're eating again? Choji said, I have to maintain my energy while I'm eating. Shikamaru chastised Choji, don't talk with your mouth full, but Choji just nodded. After gulping down his chips, Choji questioned, do you think something bad happened to Naruto? With a more concerned expression on her face, Yukino spoke to her childhood friend, I hope not. Shikamaru said as he began to move, the two trailing behind him, I'm sure he's fine, come on, let's see who's fighting next. It's time for the second match, will Yukino Kira and Choji Akamichi please make your way down to the arena, said Genma. Oh, it appears to be our turn, Yukino remarked. Oh my god, I'm going to lose, Choji exclaimed. Don't say that. I know you've been training for the past month, Yukino urged, attempting to lift Choji's spirits. I have been training. For that food eating contest next week, Choji exclaimed, catching Shikamaru and Yukino's perspiration in his eyes. I'm going to sit with Ino in the stands, and I wish you guys luck, Shikamaru said before walking away. Yukino said, well, we should get going too, and Choji nodded before they headed toward the arena. Alongside Sakura and Ino, Sakura remarked, so now it's Yukino's and Choji's turn. Oh no, I don't think Choji will win, Ino shook her head. Choji's unfortunate matchup is not his fault, Shikamaru uttered behind them. Sakura and Ino turned to see who it was. When Ino recognized him, she got to her feet, went up to Shikamaru, and took him by the collar before yelling at him. She exclaimed, you idiot, you could have won that match but no you had to make some lame-ass excuse. Shikamaru, Sakura, and a few other people covered their ears from the loudness. Shikamaru said as he took a seat that became available, can you stop yelling, besides I was almost out of chakra and I wouldn't be able to do anything after that. When the match was about to begin, Ino sat back down in her seat and said, okay, I'll humor you just this once. When Genma asked if they were ready, Yukino and Choji were facing each other in the middle of the arena and nodding their heads. Genma said, well, if you are ready, then you may begin, and retreated to give Yukino and Choji room to battle. Once the go-ahead to fight was given, the two simply remained in their fighting positions and stared at one another until Choji made the first move by giving a hand signal. Expansion Jutsu. Then, like a balloon being blown up, Choji's body began to swell and spin quickly. Human Boulder Jutsu. Choji isn't having fun, Ino remarked. Shikamaru remarked, of course he can't, he wants to end this quick. Then, as Yukino saw Choji simply turning around the stadium in a circle, she channeled chakra into her feet to stick to the wall and avoid being crushed as Choji rolled towards her with amazing speed. Yukino was startled when she looked up and saw the civilians attempting to cling to the railings as Choji crashed into the wall, causing it to tremble a little. Yukino uses a few gestures, ice style, ice calamity. As ice began to cover everything, including the wall, Yukino leapt off it and landed on the ground as the wall turned into ice. The ice started to cover Choji as well, but he was moving and spinning so quickly that it broke off while he was still spinning. Sakura shivered and exclaimed, "W. Whoa, the whole field is covered in ice." When Yukino saw that Choji was frozen in place exactly where she wanted him to be, she wasn't prepared for him to leap into the air and shatter all of the ice surrounding the field. "What?" Yukino exclaimed in shock as she witnessed Choji approaching her and began demonstrating a new series of hand gestures. Ice style. Frozen armor. As Choji approached, Yukino raised her hand and felt as though she was being engulfed in ice chakra. She also started to feel as though hard objects were surrounding her entire body. "Whoa!" Gasp. Everyone was taken aback by what they observed. Yukino stood in the center of the field, her armor now showing off a portion of her skin. She wore white leggings with boots and gauntlets on each hand, as well as armor covering her chest, which she used to hold Choji in place while he was still spinning. "Whoa, is that really Yukino?" Ino exclaimed, astonished, and nobody dared to add anything more. "Oh no," Choji thought, going green. "Oh no, I'm getting dizzy." With her fist cocked back, Yukino punched Choji, sending him flying backward and colliding with the stadium wall. Yukino sighed with relief as she approached Choji slowly and noticed swirls in his eyes. "At least he's okay." Genma approached and observed Choji's state, realizing he could not continue to fight. Genma declared, "Yukino Kira is the winner of the match," to loud applause from the spectators. "Well, can't say I didn't see that coming," Ino replied. "Indeed," Sakura remarked, "but it was still a good match." "It was, but I would have thought Choji would have trained this month," Ino replied. "He trained this month. In preparation for a culinary contest next week," Shikamaru sighed. "What or what?" Sakura and Ino uttered. Alongside Yukino since her match was over, she watched the medic ninjas take Choji away and then climbed the stairs to join the other spectators. As she was walking, she was worried where Naruto is. Hiruzen did tell her Naruto went to train out of the village with one of his students he taught, but he should have been back by now. Unknown to her, she had a blush on her face. She wanted Naruto to see her fight so he can see how much she has grown, but he still wasn't here even after 2 of the fights were over, and she frowned at that. But that's not all. During this month she has been thinking of what she felt for Sasuke. To be honest, she hasn't been spending as much time with him during this month. I mean, don't get her wrong, she knows that it's the time to train for the finals, and yes, they had some dates during the month, but it wasn't like it used to be. They barely talked to each other, and she was wondering if their relationship is going to last or if it will crumble apart. It was unknown at the moment. There was also her feelings for Naruto. Again unknown to her, she was blushing again. She doesn't know why she was feeling this way for Naruto. This has never happened when they were kids either, or when they were in the ninja academy. She did love Naruto dearly. He was her childhood friend after all, and she cherished him, but... Yukino clenched her hand and placed it on her chest. She's not sure if this is a romantic love or just a friendship type of love. She had a crush on Sasuke in the ninja academy like all the other girls in the class, and she was thrilled when he asked her out. She felt that her feelings for Naruto and Sasuke were pretty much the same, and she wasn't sure if Naruto even thought that of her in the first place. In any case, she was with Sasuke at the time, and she only saw Naruto as a younger brother in both the past and the present. So she tried to ignore her feelings for Naruto until she could better understand them, and it wasn't like anything was going to change between them anyway. Sakura exclaimed, "Oh hey Yukino," forcing Yukino to come out of her reverie as she noticed Sakura, Ino, and Shikamaru seated in the chairs, waiting for her. Ino gestured to the seat beside her and said, "This is where we saved you a seat." "Many thanks," Yukino said as she sat down. "Do you own a copy of Naruto yet?" Ino inquired, but Yukino shook her head. Yukino answered, "No, I haven't. He should have been here by now." "It's unfortunate. I was hoping to see him after a whole month," Ino said, blushing and scowling, causing Yukino to scowl and narrow her eyes at her. That was something else entirely. She didn't like the thought of Naruto becoming overly intimate with another girl, and she wasn't sure why. Perhaps it was because she didn't want anyone to cause him harm or hurt his feelings, or perhaps it was just the uneasy feeling she got when she imagined Naruto with someone else. "I must inquire, Ino. Why are you suddenly interested in Naruto?" Shikamaru posed a pertinent question, and Yukino was interested in hearing the answer. Why are you asking me that right now? Ino said, blushing brighter. Well, maybe it's because you treated him wrongly when we were still in the academy, and while we became a fully fledged ninja, and while we were in the Forest of Death a month ago. Shikamaru replied with a sigh. Looking down, Ino said, okay, I get it. I know I'm not proud of what I've done and I regret doing it. You didn't answer my question, he responded. I don't know, Yukino said, you don't know. Putting her hands to her face to cover her shame, Ino said, yeah. It's like something changed about him, and I'm not talking about what we saw in the forest, but it's like I'm attracted to him now. Yukino scowled even more at that. Shikamaru muttered, I see. Yukino simply remained silent while she considered what Ino had said before shifting her attention to the arena. Alongside the sand team, wow, she's something else. To cover the whole arena in ice is impressive, Kankuro said. No kidding, she must have high amounts of chakra in order to do that, including that armor, said Tamari. Gaara turned to face Yukino and said, that girl. She interests me. Tamari and Kankuro both turned to stare at Gaara in shock. Gaara, someone is interested, Kankuro uttered. Looking at Yukino as well, Tamari thought, that's new, she must be a special one then. Alright, we will now begin the next match. Will Shino Aburame and Kankuro of the Sand please make you way to the arena, said Genma. Now it was his turn to fight, and Kankuro stiffened at this. He appeared nervous, knowing that he was somewhat at a disadvantage and that he needed to stall for time because Gaara needed to be ready and the invasion wasn't yet appropriate. He also needed to conserve energy for when it began. Proctor, I like to forfeit. This drew a few jeers from the audience, but it didn't bother him because he needed to buy time for the invasion. Yukino, Shikamaru, Shino, and Hiruzen narrowed their eyes and turned to face him. What? He simply forfeited like that, Ino remarked in shock. However, why? Sakura questioned. Weird, Yukino and Shikamaru thought, and this raised alarms in their minds. Hold on. That implies that the following match Issa, Yukino began, but the proctor interrupted. Okay. Kankuro forfeits, making Shino Aburame the winner by default. We will now begin the next match, Genma replied. Please make your way to the arena. Naruto Uzumaki and Neji Hyuga, Genma uttered. Everyone saw Neji leap from the fighter's box and take a position on one side of the arena, but Naruto wasn't there. Naruto is still not available, Sakura remarked as she peered around. Oh no. He will be sad to lose his match, in a panic, Ino said. Oh no, the Hokage's time has run out, Shikamaru remarked. Where are you, Naruto? Come on, Yukino thought frantically. He's getting close, a voice said. Yukino got up and turned to face her surroundings when she heard the preliminaries' voice once more. What's wrong, Yukino? Sakura inquired. Did one of you say something to me just now? Replied she. Indeed, Sakura replied. No, before you mentioned anything, Yukino uttered. No, we didn't. Why not? Shikamaru uttered. After shaking her head, Yukino took a seat again and said, nothing, I just thought I heard something. Who was that? She wondered. Hey, what's up? Naruto ought to be here by now, but where is he? Kiba spoke, and Hinata's expression turned worried. Hiruzen was wondering where Naruto was up in the cage booth. He had plenty of time to get here, so why wasn't he? Where have they disappeared to? He whispered. Looks like we're missing someone you wanted to see, Hokage. Let's move on to the next match. Hiruzen nodded and sighed, saying, I'm sorry, Naruto, but we can't wait any longer, the cage said. Hiruzen nodded to Genma, who sighed and nodded in return. Since Naruto Uzumaki isn't here, the winner of the match by default is Nei. Hey, have a peek up there, a civilian spoke up, grabbing everyone's attention as he pointed up into the sky. When they looked where he was pointing, they gasped to see two people falling from the sky. After being startled, Hiruzen grinned to see who it was. About time. The cage looked too, but he focused his gaze on one in particular. That's what he thought. When they approached the ground, one of Tama, who had long white hair and a ninja headband with the word oil on it, landed first, grinning, and the other one landed immediately after, causing the ground to give way slightly beneath him. The crowd was unable to see the other person's face because of his hoodie, but they could tell that he was an adult. What are those two? Inquired Shikamaru. I'm not sure, Ino uttered. Are they also taking the exams? Sakura uttered. I don't think so, we would have seen them in the preliminaries, said Shikamaru. Yukino was squinting at the young adolescent, trying to make out who was hiding beneath the hoodie. She noticed that he was carrying a sword around his waist and then noticed a large, recognizable-looking sword on his back. The crowd erupted in mutterings, for they had no idea who these two who had fallen from the sky were or why they had interrupted the exams. "Apologies, did we miss the party?" the man smirked and asked. "Who are the two of you?" Genma posing the query for which everyone was looking for a response. The young person raised his hood to reveal his face, heard several spectators gasp, and then he spoke. "I'm ready for my match, Naruto Uzumaki," he remarked, glancing at Neji, who followed suit. "In the grandstands, Naruto is here," with joy, Ino uttered. "He succeeded," Sakura uttered a relieved. "It's about time he made an appearance," Shikamaru grinned. Yukino was beginning his time at Naruto in disbelief. He had arrived at the perfect moment. "He's here at last," she thought, not realizing that she was blushing. When she turned to look, she saw that Naruto had also changed into new clothes. He was wearing an open red and blue jacket with some white splattered on it that reached his waist, along with a white shirt underneath it. He was also wearing dark brown pants with a red belt and 3 pouches attached, 2 by his waist and 1 underneath the right one. He was also wearing brown combat boots and fingerless gloves, but he had a black metal device covering part of his right and left arms, as well as brown combat boots. Around his neck was a necklace featuring a fire symbol. "He looks really cool, whoa," Ino stated. "Yes," Yukino blushed and said in a daze. "Yeah, it's better than that orange jumpsuit that he had on," said Shikamaru. Sakura exclaimed, startled, "That's Naruto." Shikamaru remarked, "I wonder what those black metal things on his arms are." "All right. Naruto succeeded," Kiba grinned and said. "Thank God," Hinata muttered. "Is that the previous Naruto?" Kurenai uttered. Asuma nodded and said, "Yep, I gotta say his new look isn't bad." Returning to the playing field, "Surely you are aware of who I am?" the man uttered. When Genma turned to face Naruto after being taken aback by his appearance, something clicked. "Oh, Lord Jiraiya, sorry I didn't recognize you," said Genma. "You should, after all who could forget about this face here," Jiraiya replied. "Probably a lot," Naruto muttered as he felt movement coming from his jacket and saw Chakra emerge as she approached his shoulder. "I agree with that," she said, and Naruto laughed. "We should get started, don't you think?" Neji responded. "Oh," said Genma. Jiraiya patted Naruto on the shoulder and said, "All right Gaki, I'm going to be with the old man, show these people how much you've grown." Naruto nodded, then looked up at the spectators, seeing everyone staring at him. He nodded at Hinata and Kiba, then nodded at Yukino, Ino, Sakura, and Shikamaru, all of whom waved at him, except for Yukino, who was merely staring. In the fighter's box, he nodded at Shino, who nodded at him too, and the Sand team, staring at him intensely, especially Gaara, who kept clenching his fist. Genma declared, "Okay, let's get started with this match between Naruto Uzumaki and Neji Hyuga," and Neji assumed the Hyuga fighting stance. "Until I'm done, Katrina, go by Yukino," Naruto said in his head. Chakra nodded and said, "All right." Many were shocked to see a cat jump that high, but they turned their attention to the field when Chakra got off his shoulder, went to the wall, and leapt into the stance, landing on Yukino's lap. Naruto assumed an unusual sword fighting stance and pulled his black sword from his waist for everyone to see. Tenten wondered as she examined the sword in his hand and the previous sword on his back, how is he getting those types of swords? "Leave Naruto," Ino cheered. "You're capable of this," Yukino applauded. "Is it the kid with the big mouth?" a ninja uttered. Another said, "Yeah, I think that is, I wonder how he'll go up against Neji." Some people also cheered for Naruto, but many of them did so in favor of Neji's victory, which had no bearing on Naruto at all. Kirin wished Naruto luck and encouraged him to show off his growth to everyone. Naruto nodded. "I'll make sure they don't underestimate me again," he thought to himself. "I see you've finally made the decision to appear. Doesn't matter because, despite the few wardrobe modifications you made, fate has declared me the winner of this battle," Neji remarked. "Recall what I mentioned earlier. I'll demonstrate to you that our destiny isn't predetermined, and I'll demonstrate that throughout this battle," a determined Naruto said. Neji remarked, "We shall see." Following their verbal exchange, the stadium was silent. When Neji saw what he saw, he recoiled a little before activating his Byakugan. He saw his network, which was a raging river of blue chakra, but he also saw light blue and dark red energy flowing around his form. He was astounded to see 2 distinct energies in Naruto and asked, "What is this?" "He can see my chakra, my mana, and," That, with his eyes, Naruto said, squinting his eyes. If that's the case. Neji was taken aback once more upon witnessing Naruto's form completely submerged in black, rendering his chakra networks and those two peculiar energies invisible to him. Chick. Neji turned off his Byakugan. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Neji Hyuga's match could now begin. Sensing that things might get crazy, Genma jumped back to give the two fighters some room. Neji charged straight at Naruto, and so began a dance unlike any other. As each strike Neji sent, Naruto would maneuver around it before sending a slash of his own back at him, necessitating Neji to sidestep out of the way lest he be fatally injured. Any attack Neji sent, Naruto would find a way around it, never blocking, except with his sword, knowing that if he tried it would only hinder him. Instead, he would deflect before striking back, Neji moving aside to avoid being hit. Many in the stands could not believe what they were witnessing, as the well-known Hyuga prodigy, rookie of the year from his generation that graduated the academy, was being taken toe-to-toe equally by the current, dead last. Oh, those poor souls who still think that. Neji was growing increasingly agitated and was beginning to lose his composure. He was nearly always frowning because he couldn't believe he wasn't able to hit Naruto, who kept dodging or blocking with his sword. Neji struck Naruto again, but this time Naruto moved forward, deflecting the strike to the side, elbowing him in the neck to stop him, and then kicking him in the face to send him reeling. Naruto then leapt back to create some space between them, grinning slightly, his training clearly showing. In the grandstands. Whoa, Naruto's improved so much, Ino exclaimed in shock. Yukino gave a nod. That's not all, his strength is incredible. Just what kind of training did he go through? He's also good with that sword just by the way he's blocking Neji's attacks at a close distance, said Shikamaru. While watching the match below, Chakra thought, just wait and see what else Naruto has for show. Go back to the arena. With a scowl on his face, Neji stood back up and Naruto charged at him with such speed that he raised his sword, ready to slash but not kill him. Neji thought, looks like I have no choice. He assumed a stance, waiting for the perfect opportunity to spin in place and project his chakra into a sphere. A rotation of 8 trigrams. When his sword struck the chakra sphere, Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. He crossed his arms to stop the damage, but this only made him launch himself back a short distance before landing on his feet holding his sword. I was surprised by that, Naruto thought. Did you overlook the lessons I gave you? Kirin inquired. Always be ready for whatever your opponent may throw at you, Naruto uttered, and he sensed Kirin nod. The amount of skill that both of them were displaying surprised many people up in the stands. The person who was most taken aback by Neji was Hiashi Hyuga, the clan head of the Hyuga clan. He was shocked that Neji had been able to perform the main branch technique on his own, which demonstrated that he had been training hard. He felt bad for his nephew because of the growing tensions between the branches, especially after his father, Hiyashi's twin brother Hisashi, died for him after the attempted kidnapping of his daughter Hinata. Hiyashi needed to talk to his nephew soon because he had something important to tell him about his father. Once more, Naruto rose to his feet and assumed a stance, but this time, wind energy began to envelop his sword, covering it completely and turning it green. Sword art. Gale strike. Wind style. Neji made another rotation when Naruto struck him with a sword swing, but... Whoa! As he was being sent back, Neji yelled, but everyone could see the enormous cut across his chest. In the grandstands. What? How could that be possible? Tenten remarked. Neji's rotation ought to have prevented that attack. Wow, Naruto just used a wind strike to hit Neji, but I thought his rotation should have prevented that. Ino stated. From what we saw before, it should have, but it's like it completely went right through Neji's defense, Yukino stated. Shikamaru uttered, how is that possible? In an attempt to make sense of it. Re-entering the arena, after a difficult struggle, Neji managed to stand up and hurled a few shuriken in the direction of Naruto, who simply blocked them with his sword. What was amazing, though, was that the shuriken all broke in half when they came into contact with the edges of Neji's sword. The onlookers were startled when Naruto released his sword and it began to float next to him. He gestured with his hands, and then it appeared as though a storm had broken out as a tornado, like object engulfed Naruto. In the grandstands. What's happening? Yelling. Ino. I'm clueless. Naruto, what are you doing? Sakura uttered. Wind chakra is this. Everyone looked to see Asuma behind them with Kurenai as they stood wide-eyed. And a lot of it. I sense something additional, Ino remarked. As he attempted to concentrate, Shikamaru remarked, "Troublesome, what a drag." As Yukino protected Chakra and herself from the wild winds, she thought, "Naruto, what are you doing?" She looked up at the sky, seeing some storm clouds form, and then she saw Naruto, who was standing there alone, his eyes closed, focused. Within the cage concession, gazing at Naruto, Hiruzen Sarutobi and the cage were astounded by what they saw. Sat back, he grinned proudly and watched the rest of the match, thinking, "That boy continues to surprise me, and who knew this darkness could be so powerful? The will of fire is strong in him. Your parents would be proud of you, Naruto." The cage thought, "This boy is more troublesome than I thought." The terrifying visage that emerged was made of wind chakra gathering around Naruto's arms to form a mouth, nose, eyes, and jaws and teeth that snapped shut around his fist. What the? How? That's the reason behind everyone's little two-word shock, which surrounded Naruto's entire arm, was that the entire thing was the head, the face of the nine-tailed fox itself. Naruto could feel the nine-tailed smirk as he brought his arms together, combining the two of their faces into one large one. Neji was standing there, shocked by what he was seeing. Naruto had taught Neji how to combine his chakra natures, and the outcome was, to put it mildly, unexpected. Naruto used his chakra to attach himself to the stadium wall. He then threw his arms forward and back, saying, "Raving with thunder, storm style." As promised by the name of the jutsus, the fox head opened its mouth and let out a loud roar, but what emerged from it was more than just noisy, a massive torrent of black, gray, and occasionally lightning-filled wind that resembled a real thunderstorm hurled towards Neji, who instantly broke out of his stunned state and performed his jutsu. A rotation of 8 trigrams. When the two jutsus clashed, everyone was grasping onto something again because the concentrated wind force was causing gusts that tore through the entire arena. Neji created another sphere of chakra to either repel or protect Naruto's jutsu. "This is insane," clutching the railing for support as she cried out over the howling winds. Returning to the arena, Naruto made the decision to put an end to this, and with one last yell, he unleashed all the chakra he could spare into his jutsu. The winds and lightning turned to chakra as nothing, not their screams, could be heard from anyone. Neji was on the ground, his own body covered in cuts and gashes, but everyone's eyes were mostly focused on the jaunt hole in the stadium wall. It was big enough to fit all 4 of the Konoha 12's genin teams, senseis included. Then, everyone's attention was directed towards the one remaining member, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto approached Neji coolly and gave him a hard stare, seeing that he was having trouble standing up. Neji was unable to stand again and was immobile. He was helpless to do anything as Naruto approached and peered down at him, staring into Neji's pale blue eyes and doing nothing. "What is the issue? Can you please finish me off?" Neji uttered. When they heard what Neji had to say to Naruto, the entire stadium fell really silent. "You have to acknowledge that what I've been saying is true, even with how amazing you are right now," Naruto uttered. "You do realize this, don't you?" he repeated himself after receiving no response. Neji clamped his jaw shut. "I have something to tell you," Naruto said, grabbing everyone's attention. "Do you know what I would do if I were faced with a fate I didn't like?" Asking, Naruto took a large rock out of the ground. "What's that about?" Neji inquired. Everyone was waiting to hear from Naruto. "I'd smash that fate and make my own destiny, and that's something you should do if you don't like your current one," Naruto said, smashing the rock into pieces with his hand. Neji gritted his teeth and turned away. "Stop wasting time trying to lecture me. What do you know? You have no idea what it's like to be imprisoned, to have your freedom taken away from you since you were a young child, and to have been given this curse seal since you were a young child," Neji uttered. "If only you were aware," Naruto mused. "This fight is over, finish me off already and be done with it," Neji replied. Drawing his teeth together, Naruto approached Neji. As he clenched his hand and glanced at Neji, who was staring down in defeat with his eyes closed, Naruto began to glow a dark red. Dragon Fist. A dragon arts. When Naruto struck Neji's chest with his fist, his dark red aura grew and shot into the air, causing everyone to look up in surprise as his aura materialized into a red dragon that roared up into the sky. Horror. The dragon then dove into the sky to where Naruto and Neji were. It opened its mouth, swallowed both of them, and exploded, swirling around them to form a sphere before vanishing, leaving behind a sizable crater, a still-standing Naruto, and a motionless Neji on the ground. Naruto stepped back as Genma approached Neji and put his fingers on his neck. Realizing that Neji was still alive but unconscious, he exhaled and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. The stadium was silent when Genma announced, "Neji Hyuga is unable to continue. Naruto Uzumaki is the winner of the match." At that point, clapping and cheers could be heard, and they continued until the entire stadium was transformed into a single, large cheering zone. Naruto let out a tired sigh. It's over.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.